What's up, everyone? You're very welcome along to tonight's Between the Lines. I'm your host, Craig, and you are all most welcome to the Anfield Agenda YouTube channel. If it's your first time with us, settle in, relax. We hope you enjoy the evening's content. For you guys who are here always, you guys know what to expect. The unexpected, because that's pretty much what happens on here. I will be joined a little bit later on tonight by Cash. She's just on her way home from work. She's running a little bit late. She will be here. We'll have a chat about all things Liverpool related, transfers, all the big stories that have come out. Couple of things have happened today. We've seen young Ben Woodburn complete his loan move to Sheffield United. Good move for him. Hopefully he has a breakthrough season and we see more of the young man next year at Liverpool because he looks like an immense talent. Jumping straight into the chat as I do always because I can see it's filling up here already. Junior, Nathan, Joseph, Farisle, Thomas, V8, Jaden, Evan, Ross, Damo, so Cobra, Dave, so many people in there. Good evening to you all, and you are very welcome along to tonight's show. It's always a pleasure to have you guys in. Always great to catch up with you again. Firstly, how's your day been? I hope it's been well for you all. And secondly, what's happening? What is happening, guys? I'm hearing all day about Christian Pulisic. Everywhere I go today, every time I pick up my phone, somebody has said something about Christian Pulisic. I just don't know what to make of this. Really interested to know what you guys think. I'll be really interested to know what Cash thinks a little bit later on when she joins us. But it's crazy, absolute crazy. Connor said that thumbnail is a thing of beauty. It's not mine, but it's Charlie's hard work. So Connor, as we know, is away on holiday, and Charlie has taken over the thumbnail duties, and he hasn't let us down. That's an absolute beauty, that one tonight. We did have a discussion about it, Connor, as to what to put on it. So there was a bit of thought went into that one. Farrell said he's driving, so expect some misspelled text. That's alright, buddy. I mean, Jesus, just concentrate on the wheel, buddy. You concentrate on driving, don't worry about the texting. Good evening, Craig, says Paul. A lot of people saying hello to Connor as well. And Firehawk says, mate, you're an actual legend, which is brilliant. Thank you very much, guys. Do you know what? I'm going to go straight off tonight and say it, guys. We are only 29 subscribers, something like that. 29 subscribers away from hitting 2.5k. So that is our target for tonight. Before we go any further, if you're watching, please do hit that subscribe button. Help us get there, because that's the target for tonight's stream. 2.5k would be an amazing achievement for us in such a short period of time. But look, we'll move on past that. We'll get straight into the chat here again. Jaden says, Craig, you watching Arsenal and Chelsea? I wasn't, mate. I seen the first few minutes of it. When I left to come up here to start recording the podcast this evening, it was 1-0 to Chelsea. I've no idea what score it is at this moment in time, although I'm sure you guys can let me know. We've just finished recording this week's Transfer Talk podcast. It's the penultimate one before the window closes, so just one more to go. It was myself, Chris and Dave. That is out on the podcast apps as we speak. It isn't quite out yet on YouTube. It'll be a little bit behind. It'll probably be tomorrow evening by the time we get out on here. But if you listen to us on iTunes, Acast, Podbean, whatever the hell it is, Spotify, that podcast is out and available right now. Sorry guys, I'm just looking at my phone here. Cash has just sent me a message. I've got a flat tire on the way back from this gig, so we'll play that one by ear. If Cash can join us, brilliant. If she can't, well look, we'll have to go from there. And Joseph said, Craig will sort that chat out for you. Just ask him. I've no idea what you're talking about. So let me get back into them here. Who's the 6'7" lad? I haven't got a clue. El Chapo said, if we sign Pulisic, probably loan him until next season. Please sign Fekir now. Like, he means business here, El Chapo. He's saying now. Dave also says something that our own Dave spoke about on the podcast tonight. He said perhaps do a deal to sign Pulisic and loan him back. Kind of allow what we did with Naby Keita last year. And that's interesting as well. We do need somebody for now, though. As open as I would be, Dave, to getting Christian Pulisic signed up and seeing him come in next year, I'd just be a little bit worried that we're still that small bit short with our attacking options, going into this season. What else we got here in the chat? Are Liverpool planning on increasing Anfield's capacity, asks Oliver Maloney. As I'm sure you know, Oliver, mate, the only real talk around it has been around the Annie Road end. There has been outline planning permission granted for that one. It's just a matter of, and I hate to say this, buddy, because I'm a football fan like you. I want to see the stadium increase to get as many fans in as possible. But it seems as if it's going to be a question of if it's going to be worth their while from a financial standpoint. from a fan standpoint, it makes every possible bit of sense you can think of. But they spoke about how long it might take to repay, and I can't remember for the life of me. I'd be lying if I told you. I remember one of the stands was 15 years, but I think that was the main stand, and that was with the corporate facilities and stuff, obviously, whereas you won't have that in the Anfield Road end. So like you, Oliver, mate, I'm waiting to see, but I really hope that they almost bite the bullet, and if they have to take a little bit of a hit on that one, so be it, because, you know, we want more fans in that stadium. We want to get more access to tickets. People are on waiting lists for a very long time. So the honest answer is, Oliver, mate, I don't know, but we know that there's an option there for them to explore, and we hope that they do push ahead with it. And what else have we got here? A few people asking what happened tonight. Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing happened tonight. I think maybe if you're talking about the thumbnail, then it's from last night. Sorry, I just want to clear that one up. If we're going on the thumbnail, then we're working off last night, where the journalists were playing with us almost. We seen Christian Walsh from the Echo first put out a picture of a hole, and then James Pearce was whacking out pictures of a lad juggling, and then of course we had Oliver Bond putting out the tweet saying Michael Edwards, eh? I mean, there seems like there's something up here, guys. It really seems like there's something up. Do you guys think we're going to get somebody? I really think somebody's coming in during the last week of this window, and I can't get my head past that. Ben said, Craig, just a question only an Irishman can answer. How do you pronounce? And I'm going to say this, Ben, so you get it, buddy. It's Caoimhín Kelleher. So Caoimhín is the Irish for Kevin. It's the Irish word for Kevin. So his name is actually Kevin Kelleher, but obviously just being Irish, it's Caoimhín Kelleher. That's how you pronounce his name. I hope that helps. Sorry, I'm going to catch back up through. The White Warrior said, see the crack at West Ham, Craig. They're trying to get the two lads from Porto in. No, I haven't seen it. Honestly, I barely keep track of Liverpool's transfers. I'm so busy, so to keep track of West Ham's is a little bit too much for me to do. But they've done a lot of business, haven't they, West Ham? Probably the best bit of business that they've done is bringing in Pellegrini as their manager, because I do rate him as a football man. I really do. Look, he did a good job at Manchester City. He wasn't quite what they wanted. Maybe he didn't play the style of football that Manchester City fans wanted, but he's a damn good manager, and I think he'll do a fantastic job at West Ham. They certainly won't be down the bottom end of the table this season by the looks of things. Cameron said, just subscribing. Thank you, Cameron, mate. That really does make a difference, and it's very much appreciated. Thank you for your subscription, and thank you for joining the channel here and giving us a try. Junior said, Craig, do you think Pulisic will happen before the window closes? I honestly am on the fence. I'm on the fence, Junior, mate. If you were to ask me, will Pulisic or Fekir happen before the window closes, I'd probably give you a 70-30 that one of them will get done. And of course, that's not based on any inside information. Just as you, I say this every time, but just like you guys, I'm trying to piece all the little things together and trying to come up with some type of a picture here. But one of them I'd be confident. Which one, I haven't got a clue at this point. I genuinely haven't got a clue. V8 said, Craig, go on the Liverpool FC channel. The first training session for Alisson is up. I've seen it, buddy. I've been on there. Don't you worry about that. I'm keeping a very close eye on Alisson Becker. You know how much I rate him. I mean, it was no accident that the club put out that image of that save yesterday from, wasn't it from Marco Grujic, I think he made the save from. And that was no accident. That wasn't done as just a happy coincidence. That was very well thought out, and a lot of praise to whoever put that in from the LFC media crew, because it was absolute class, to be fair. And it did him no harm. I mean, already it's won. How many fans has that one save won over in a simple training ground thing? Louis said, fuck Oliver Bond, he's a fraud. I don't know. As I said, I don't follow Oliver Bond. I don't even follow, what's the name? Is Anfield HQ, I think the account is. I don't even follow that account. So, to be honest with you, I don't know anything about Oliver Bond, except for that he's got a shitload of followers. That's all I know about him. Paul Wilson says, good evening to everybody, and good evening to you, Paul. Johnny is in. He said, hello again, everybody, and hello to you, of course, Johnny, as well. Liam is just putting in random fucking emojis at this. Liam, mate, are you having a stroke? I mean, 999 112 If you're having a stroke, buddy, we're here for you. FAST. Isn't that the acronym? FAST. No idea what it means, but FAST. Maverick said, is somebody coming in? If so, who? Like you, Maverick, mate. Haven't got a Scooby-Doo. Praying that somebody comes in. I'm being greedy. Am I being greedy, actually? Let me put that to you guys. Am I being greedy, wanting one more signing? I mean, we've done tremendous business during this window. I'm really, really impressed with the work Michael Edwards, Klopp and the team have done. So I'm being a little bit greedy here, looking for one more. Because I've got to be honest, I probably will be a little bit disappointed if we don't get that attacking or central midfielder in. Well, attacking central midfielder, or the wide forward, I should say, in. I probably will feel like it was an opportunity missed. Damo said, did Christian Walsh fill us in on that whole emoji? Brilliant, Damo. No, he didn't, mate. It didn't even cop with me what it was. Well, I was thinking, why the fuck is he putting up an emoji of a hole? Until it was pointed out to me by somebody far less stupid than me that it's obviously somebody to play in the hole. Because I just didn't get it at first. I mean, I was putting 2 and 2 together and coming up with 27 at that point. Ferno reckons Fakira's coming on the last day. Well, we're in countdown mode now, aren't we? Really. Craig, got to go. Sorry, see you tomorrow. Jaden, no worries, mate. Have a good one, buddy, and I'll talk to you soon. Junior said, if we sell both Karius and Miggs, surely we've got to get somebody in as backup. And that's a really good point to possibly get stuck into here and have a chat about, because it's something we mentioned on the Transfer Talk podcast as well. We've seen Mignolet linked to Besiktas, we've seen him linked to Barcelona. The figure that seems to be bandied around is around 12 million quid. And personally, I don't think that's enough for Simon Mignolet. I think if you're letting Ward go for 10 to 12 million, whatever it was, then somebody like Simon Mignolet, who we mightn't rate that highly as a goalkeeper, but he is a goalkeeper with experience at top level. He's been in the Premier League for a few years. He's played European football. He's been at a couple of major tournaments with Belgium. I would imagine that he will be worth probably around 18 to 20 million pound. That's just my valuation of Simon Mignolet. Now, obviously, I'd rather bring in 15 million or 12 million and get him the fuck out of the club, because I've made no bones about it. I want Simon Mignolet gone. SpongeBob SquareHead for me just isn't good enough. That taken aside, selling Karius as well, that would be a big gamble. Even loaning Karius out would be a big gamble, because we then have to go to the market. Like, do we look at the young players there? Do we look at Queevy and Kelleher and give them an opportunity? Do we give Grabara an opportunity? We've obviously moved on the other young keeper to Tranmere. He signed a new contract and he moved on there on loan. So somebody suggested something to me earlier on, and don't shoot the messenger, I'm just putting this out there. Somebody suggested, would you be happy if Simon Mignolet moved on, if Karius went out, and we ended up bringing in someone like Joe Hart? Now, as I said, don't shoot the messenger. This is just a question that was put to me. And your initial reaction when somebody mentions Joe Hart to you is immediately to jump down their throat and say, fuck you, he's not good enough, he's shy, fuck you, how dare you. But when I sat back and thought about it, and I thought, well, you know what, how many games is he going to play? He might play 10 in the season, if even that. It wouldn't be a bad bit of business. Nor would somebody like Begovic, or somebody like, I don't want to say Fraser Forster because I really don't like that lad either, but somebody like the Begovic type character, somebody like that, an experienced level-headed keeper who, you know, can just come in and do the basics right, then maybe that will do. What do you guys think? Would you be happy if Joe Hart came in as a backup? Would you be happy if Karius left the club, whether that was to Bayer Leverkusen, who he's been linked with, whether it was on loan, whether it was permanently, whether Mignolet goes to Barcelona, Besiktas? Does that really matter? It's more about the fee. But I'd love to know what you guys think of the goalkeeper situation. Obviously, we're all ecstatic, or we should be ecstatic, of having Alisson Becker at the club, because that's a big plus. Great bit of business, big upgrade on the position. But the backup, we still do need a backup. Paul said, it's like watching a film when it goes quiet and you're waiting for something to happen. Then bang, it happens. Thomas reckons that West Ham are going to end up in the top 10. Then Ben said, thank God, I was told it was Kiva, but guessing that the girls' version. No, Quiva is the girls' version. Queeveen is the boys' version. There's your little Irish lesson for the day, Ben. Again, I'm already playing catch up with the chat, guys. I'm absolutely fucking useless at this. So I'm just going to scroll back up, see how far I can get through. And Craig, it's been reported that Mignolet to Barca for Dembele on a 2-year loan. The whole thing about Barcelona loaning now Ousmane Dembele for 2 years just doesn't add up to me at all. Think about it, like they're going to want to get back the guts of what they paid for him. Now, are they gambling that if they send him on loan for 2 years, he will improve enough that, and the market may have moved on enough that 142 or 120, whatever it was, million, it was somewhere between 120 and 140 million, I think, that they paid for Ousmane Dembele. So, are they gambling that by putting him out there in a 2-year loan, one, obviously they ain't going to be paying his wages, but secondly, his value might increase enough that if the buying club doesn't want to buy him, that somebody else will come in and pay it? I don't know, it just seems like a very strange move. Although we've seen that done before, haven't we? We've seen James Rodriguez go out on a 2-year loan from Real Madrid, for instance, so it's been done before. Would I take him at the club? Fucking of course I would. Ousmane Dembele is a very good footballer, and I've no doubt Kloppo could get the best out of him. But I'd be absolutely amazed for Liverpool to agree a 2-year loan with a deal to buy at the end of it if it was like 140 odd million. That would blow my mind if that was to happen. But, and I mean in a bad way, I just don't see the club paying that for him. But would I have him as a footballer then? Of course, absolutely. A 2-year loan deal with an option to buy if it was something the club was happy with, of course I'd be happy with it. He's an excellent footballer. He might have had the greatest season at Barcelona, but he's definitely one for the future. Evan said, Craig, Mirror reporting Liverpool's deal for Pulisic could be agreed next year, as happened with the Keita deal. Exactly as I prophesied within the email that he sent to me, which of course I have to say Evan did. Evan sent me a detailed email last week, or not last week, a few days ago. Yeah, and that was exactly what Evan said. And I've also got to give Dave credit here as well from our podcast. He said the very same thing. We may see a deal like the Keita deal where we buy Pulisic now and he doesn't arrive till next year. Well, look guys, if that's the case, I'm happy. But I still think we're that little bit short. I still think we need somebody else in an attacking sense this year. If you could guarantee me right now that Danny Sturridge wasn't going to break down at all this season, then I'd be happy. I'd go into the season with what we have now and I'd be very confident that we do well. But I honestly don't think Danny Sturridge is going to hold up for the season. And I think if we all ask ourselves deep down, we're probably all thinking along the same lines. Kieran reckons West Ham are going to finish between 13th and 16th, which is, I think personally, Kieran, a little bit harsh, but that's my opinion, and of course you're entitled to your one, buddy. Johnny said, sorry to piss on the chips, but I can't see any more main players. Good chance of Pulisic in the summer, in my opinion. Buddy, don't ever apologise. You're more than welcome to share your opinion. That's what this is all about. And look, you may well be right, Johnny. We may not see anybody else come in. And it may well be that we get Pulisic next window. And look, that's still a good piece of business. Joseph said, okay, friend, I'll do it, Craig. Did you hear New Balance won't be renewing the shirt sponsorship? Dave touched on this earlier on. When is the New Balance deal up? Because somebody told me it was up at the end of next season, and somebody else told me it was a couple of years ago. And my honest answer is I don't know. Then that, of course, in our WhatsApp group led to a conversation around who we'd like to replace them. Personally, I'd never ever like to see Liverpool wearing Nike. I don't know if it's just a personal thing. I just detest Nike jerseys. I just don't want Liverpool to wear Nike. If we had to go back and change, then even after what Adidas said about us, even after the little slight dig that they had when they thought we weren't worth the money for the sponsorship the last time, I'd rather we went back to Adidas, because we could at least get the retro shirts then made with the Adidas on them, so we could get a really nice copy of the old beautiful 89-90 shirts, even the 86 shirts. Actually, it was the 86. Yeah, the 86 I think was Adidas. I think it was Umbro before then. So yeah, we could get the nice retro shirts remade. But for me, Nike I just don't like Nike shirts. So if New Balance aren't going to renew the deal, then I'd hope we go back to Adidas personally. Man City were our friends at one time. Don't become enemies. I've no idea what that one's about. Junior said, Outlast did say this is the last week of the window, could be a storm, but who knows? he also gave a cut-off point of the end of July, Junior, for any deal to be done for Fekir. So if we're working on that, then that window has closed. Today's the 1st of August, so you'd imagine that the window is closed. Everybody seems to be coming in and asking who Liverpool are signing. Your guess is as good as mine, guys. I mean, we're sitting here, we're all hoping the same thing. Is it Fekir? Is it Pulisic? Is it Pulisic to come in next year? The honest answer is I don't know. I'm just a fan like you guys, and I'm anxiously awaiting the news that something's going to happen. I just get the feeling something will happen. It's, as somebody pointed out earlier on, when things go quiet, it's generally before something happens. So I think this has to be a crazy last week of the window, because there's too many Premier League clubs that have done fuck all. I mean, have Spurs even made a transfer in this window? United have brought in Fred. They've brought in that goalkeeper, 35-year-old goalkeeper. They probably need to do a little bit more as well. I'd seen today that they'd given up on Harry Maguire, and not because he has the world's biggest head. Apparently that wasn't a deal breaker. Go figure. But apparently now they're turning their attention towards Yerry Mina, who was somebody that Everton were linked with, somebody at one point Liverpool were linked with as well. And again, that seems like a very reactionary signing for me, and it seems like a signing coming after you can't get your first couple of preferences. And is Yerry Mina good enough to play at the top level? I don't know. He had a good World Cup, but that's all I know of him. I know he's a Barcelona player, and Barcelona seem to be willing to let him go because they need to free up a place for a non-EU player within their squad. So interesting stuff, and something has to happen. This window has just been too quiet from the majority of the Premier League clubs, the top clubs in particular. Ryan said, back with a bang like a bomb in Iraq. How is everybody? I'm fine, thank you, Ryan, mate. Great to see you back in the chat. Thomas said, would I be right in thinking Liverpool goes into pot 2 now for the Champions League draw because Basel got knocked out tonight? Yeah, that is something that, again, I had on my list of notes here to have a chat about. That's absolutely brilliant news, isn't it? That Liverpool look like they're going to be in pot 2 now for this season's Champions League draw, which of course would stop us getting another strong team. So it makes the probability that we're going to get one team obviously from pot 1, so that could be a Real Madrid, it could be a Barcelona, it could be Juventus maybe, I don't know who else is in pot 1. So we get one really, well, supposedly a really good team, then we'd be in pot 2, and then you'd expect 2 weaker sides from pot 3 and pot 4. But we seen last year with Liverpool, those lower pots can turn in a surprise from time to time. So never say never, but it's certainly good news that it looks like we're just about to go into pot 2 because Basel got knocked out. So it is pleasing news for me, and I hope it is the case. I haven't seen it confirmed yet, but everything I've heard and seen from friends of mine and stuff suggests that you're absolutely spot on, Thomas. Evan says, Craig, as per my last comment, Mirror were quoting the well-known German journalist Raphael Honigstein, who is a fantastic journalist. And actually, if you get a chance, read the book he wrote about Klopp. I think, isn't it called Bring the Noise or something? It's an excellent piece of writing. Raphael Honigstein is a tremendous journalist. I love watching him on BT as well. So yeah, very reliable on German football. Anubis says, do you really think there's enough time that Liverpool would sign Fekir or Pulisic? Absolutely, mate. Absolutely there's enough time. You would imagine that, well, if we just look at Fekir alone, all of the hard work for that deal has been done. The players' wages are agreed. The medical has technically been done, although I'd imagine that there'd have to be another one done just to check everything's okay. Agreeing the transfer fee, look, that's the tricky part here. If they're to go back to agree and it's a payment, a set of installments that would suit Leon, because obviously Liverpool are going to look to negotiate that down. With regards to Pulisic, then the honest answer there, mate, is I think it can be done, but I have no idea how long back the interest goes. I mean, we know 2 years ago we looked at him, we tried to bring him in. I have a feeling that this one might be being pushed along a little bit quicker than we would have hoped for, because I think Liverpool may have looked at Christian Pulisic as somebody we would have gone to next summer, because it would have been then coming into the last year of his Dortmund deal. I think the possible interest of the likes of Real Madrid might be what is pushing Christian Pulisic to the fore and Liverpool's thoughts at this moment in time. And again, we just don't know. It's all guesswork, but Evan pointed out to me last week that Real Madrid have changed the way they're going to go about business. Florentino Perez has come out and said that rather than sign Galacticos, like the Cristiano Ronaldos of this world, they're going to look to sign the best young players in the world. And you'd imagine that that would include the likes of Mbappe, Neymar, and Christian Pulisic would certainly fit into that bracket. So from that sense, maybe Liverpool are feeling like they have to do things a little bit quicker. That may as well be what happened with Alisson, because we've seen that Chelsea were sniffing around Alisson. So maybe Liverpool went, well, do you know what, fuck this. If Chelsea sell Courtois and then they go in and gazumpus for Alisson, then that's strengthening a rival in a position that we need strengthening in. So all just guesswork, buddy, but they're my opinions. Apologies, I can't give you anything more concrete. Imran said, this year you will get 1 million subscribers. Mate, if the day ever comes that we get 1 million subscribers, I can't even tell you what I'll do, but it'll definitely involve me being naked somehow. I can promise you that one. And congratulations. Look, I know he doesn't know who the fuck I am, but I just want to say congratulations to True Geordie as well for hitting 1 million subs. Tremendous achievement from a brilliant guy who makes great content. El Chapo said, I have a good feeling that Fekir will come before the window closes. I hope you're right. I really do hope you're right. I was expecting something to break out tonight. Have we seen the 10:30 news? It must be just coming out now. Cool. Cash has just messaged through to say hopefully she'll be able to get on by 11 o'clock, guys. So hopefully we can get Cash on. It would be great to hear her thoughts on what's going on. Apologies for me looking away there. I just had to reply to her because she had a flat tire. God love her. I hope she got that sorted as well. Because there's nothing worse than getting a flat tire in the rain, is there? Fucking horrible changing a flat tire in the rain. Imran wants 2 signings. Ryan said, you only feel greedy because no one else has done anything, which is a fair point, actually, Ryan. I never really thought about that. Arsenal won the penalty shootout, says Hassan. Thank you, mate, for letting me know about that one. Fekir and the Newcastle defender from Imran, Lascelles. We spoke about him a lot during this window, but it seems to have gone very, very quiet. And Evan said, Craig, it's never greedy to want to build or improve the team. I don't know, maybe it is what Ryan pointed out there. Maybe I'm feeling greedy because we've done a lot of business and other clubs have done fuck all so far in this window. So maybe it's not being greedy. Maybe it's being realistic. Let's go with that one. And even the White Warrior seems to say the same. No, you're not being greedy. We need an attacking midfielder and we should go for the lot. Fuck it, let's go balls out, mate. Let's go balls out and get the 2 of them. Scenes if that happens. Jesus Christ. Can you imagine we went out and we got Fekir and we got Pulisic, even if it was Pulisic next year, if that was agreed for next year. I mean, they might as well start carving their name on the fucking trophies now. All of them, all 4 of them. Fuck it, no one's touching us. Just get the engravers out and start putting our names on them trophies right now. Football fans are always greedy or retransfers, so you're not alone, Craig, said Johnny Longlegs 80. Thank you, mate. Always great to hear that people are thinking along similar lines, so that's good to see. Dave said, Luke Shaw, you are my son, Gark Vader. Good old Gark. Things aren't well at United at the minute by the looks of things, but as I keep saying the same thing, fuck them, good enough for them. Maverick said, I think we're still short of quality outside of the first 11. I disagree to a certain extent, Maverick, mate. For the front players, yes, I think we're definitely lacking cover. But for the midfield area, I think we're well stocked there. The central defenders, yeah, I can see where you're coming from there. Maybe we're putting a lot of hopes on Joe Gomez, but I think we're a lot better than we were last year. But I suppose, I mean, your point may be correct to an extent that we should always be looking to add depth and improve. And there probably are still certain weak points within our squad that we could improve. But I think all in all, we've done quite well during this window. And we've certainly, I mean, think back to the calibre of footballer that we had when Klopp first came in and where we are now and the players we're attracting. But it is good we're having these conversations. It's good that we're starting to talk about competing at the very top level and starting to look at our squad and comparing it to the Premier League champion squad and squads that are competing in European competitions every year, because that's where we belong. It sounds arrogant saying it, but fuck it, that's where we belong. The White Warrior said nobody will take Karius, Craig. He's damaged goods. Yeah, I get where you're coming from. You just think maybe a move back to Germany. Somebody might take a gamble on him. Leverkusen have been linked. Obviously, they sold Leno to Arsenal for what, 25 million quid or something. So if they could get Karius in on a season-long loan, maybe with a view to a permanent deal at the end of it for a reasonable fee, then you never know. I suppose from our point of view, the club have only paid £4.5 million for Alisson, so we're not that heavily invested in him from a financial standpoint. Joseph said, Craig, see Klopp sell the two, go away, you'd pay to get rid of his face. Imran reckons that Mignolet's worth 25 million, I think. He just has minimum 25 million, I think that's what he's pointing at. Maverick said, don't Barca have to sell Cillessen first? And yes, I mean, he would be a replacement for Cillessen, you're spot on. But you see some clubs like to bring the replacement in before they let the other guy go, so you never know. And I suppose with Spanish clubs and stuff, they're not in as much of a rush as we are, because our window closes in 7 days, but a lot of the European clubs can go to the end of August. Liam said, who out of the kids would you like to see in the FA Cup games come December? Jones. I think Jones, we said this the other night, I think he's been immense during this window. Nathaniel Phillips has been really good as well. I wouldn't mind Queevy and Kelleher getting a shot, to be fair. Maybe I'm being biased there because I'm Irish and he's Irish, but definitely those three anyway. For me, Maverick, mate, but I'd love to know your thoughts, so please do let me know in the chat, buddy. Junior reckons, I think he'll keep Karius around, but he won't play Mignolet. Definitely looks like he's being sold. And Junior reckons, says Joe Hart, ? Bashir says, I'm starting to get addicted to your show, been following for 3 weeks. That's a lovely comment, mate, thank you. It means a lot. I know I say it means a lot, but it genuinely does mean a lot to hear these nice comments, because I'm still nervous coming on here. I'm relatively new to YouTube, so I'm not really sure what I should and shouldn't be doing. I haven't watched too many other live streams outside of obviously our friend Dazzle on the bench LFC, and I love what he does. But other than that, I don't really watch much stuff on YouTube, so I'm not sure what I'm doing, whether I'm doing it right, whether I'm doing it wrong, whether I should be covering more subjects, whether I should be doing more kind of monologue stuff and less stuff into the chat. But I've said it time and time again, if you guys take the time to put your questions or your comments into the chat, I feel this is your show, and that the right thing for me to do is to read them out, because that's what I wanted this to be. This is your show. I'm just kind of a vessel here to kind of get your comments aired, but thank you, I suppose. Circling back around, thank you, mate. Oliver Maloney said, saw somewhere that there might be the same way of signing Pulisic like they did with Keita. I think Evan pointed that out earlier on, or something the Mirror has said, I think. Alex O'Leary has brought up something that again we touched on in the Transfer Talk podcast. What do you make of Everton's new signings? Lucas Digne's tattoo on his chest. It says, I never walk alone, which is fucking priceless, isn't it? I mean, come on. The jokes are almost writing themselves there for Liverpool fans towards Everton. You sign a player from Barcelona and there's images floating around of him everywhere with a tattoo right across his chest that says, I never walk alone. You mean you couldn't make it up, could you? You really couldn't make that shit up. You can imagine that there's blue noses everywhere going, oh, for fuck's sake. Great signing and all for us, but for fuck's sake, we can't live this one down. Do you know what? It's not as embarrassing as them paying 50 million for Richarlison and 45 million for Sigurdsson. I'd probably find that more embarrassing if I was an Everton fan. Tay says, not a chance, Joe bleeding heart. Skipper said Joe wouldn't be a bad number 2. Skipper Dog, sorry, said Joe wouldn't be a bad number 2. Imran said, yeah, I'd have Joe Hart as a number 2. Nick Pope is better, says Liam, but he's injured. Yeah, very unfortunate there. Dislocated shoulder, I think. I heard an interview with Sean Dyche there earlier on this evening, where he said that the operation or whatever the surgeon did, it looked good, looked clean, and that they're hoping to have him back as quickly as possible. But we've seen with Mo Salah, I mean, it could be a while before Nick Pope is back playing football, so you do wish him a speedy recovery, obviously. Junior said, I take Joe Hart for around the dressing room as backup. Maverick said, yeah, give Queevy and Kelleher an opportunity. Seeing the Chelsea Polish keeper, he's only 18 but looks solid and impressive. And then Junior again pointing out about Pope. Louis said, I don't even know about Fekir anymore. The rumours are pissing me off. I get you, Louis. I get you, mate. It's been a fucking long summer about Fekir, hasn't it? It seems like an eternity since that transfer deal broke. Where else have we got? Sorry, guys. Again, just trying to keep up with your chat here. God, sorry, guys. I do apologise. I'm just trying to get back to the chat so I don't miss out on anyone's comments. Somebody said, Craig, do you have an FPL league? I think Charlie is setting one up, as far as I know, or he has set one up. So there will be an Anfield Agenda Fantasy Premier League. There will be, yeah. I think it may be set up. I don't have the code at this moment in time. But as I said to you guys before, if you guys have FPL leagues, bang me in the code. I'd love to join it and, you know, interact with all you guys. So AnfieldAgenda@outlook.com. Send it to me there, or DM it to me on Twitter, on the Anfield Agenda Twitter account. I'm definitely happy to join any leagues. As I said before, I'm absolutely shit at Fantasy Premier League. And it's not because I don't try. I really do try. I'm just awful at it. I think I'm just pig-headed. I think I just stick to certain players and keep thinking they're going to come good. Louis said, I wish we were with Nike or Adidas. New Balance is shit, in my opinion. I've loved the New Balance stuff personally. I think the kits have been quite well made. I think the training gear has been nice. Obviously the addition of New Balance Liverpool trainers, some of them have been fucking gorgeous. I mean, I think some of the prices have been ridiculous for the trainers, but the trainers themselves, I think they've been lovely. And all in all, I've been quite impressed with New Balance. I fucking hate Nike as a brand for football. I don't know why. I've no idea why I'm anti-Nike. There's probably no rhyme or reason for it. So I did say if we were to change, I'd like to go back to Adidas, because it would allow us to get the retro kits with the Adidas logos on them, which just makes them more appealing to me, because the candy ones and stuff without the Adidas, it just looks weird. It just looks strange to me getting them. Brewster will save the club millions, says Dave Trainer. I hope so, Dave. I really do. I know, look, they've got very high hopes for the young guy. He's coming back from injury, but you know, when there's that much buzz around a young player, then you know he's something good. Skipper Dog said the transfers are quiet due to the ridiculous prices for players in the last 2 seasons. It is mad. That Neymar transfer seems to have fucked up the window just for everybody. I mean, the prices have gone absolutely ridiculous. And look, we've benefited from that to an extent with the money we got for Felipe Coutinho, but still, the jump in prices has been crazy. Brandon Kelly says, hi Craig. Hello Brandon, thank you for joining in, buddy. Tom said, 51 LFC legends have given us a thumbs up already, which is absolute quality. Thank you to those 51 people. If anybody else is watching, as I said, we've set ourselves a target tonight to try and hit 2,500 subscribers. I don't know if we can do it or not, but you know what, we'll give it a try. So if you are watching, you're enjoying the content, or you're a regular watcher but you haven't yet hit that subscribe button, please take a moment to do it. Just go down, put the cursor over it, hit that button and help us grow this channel, because hitting 2,500 subs, for me, it would mean an awful lot. It's a massive achievement for a channel that I think we've only been really streaming for about 3 months. We've had an account a bit longer, but we didn't really do much with it, if I'm being honest. I think we just threw up the podcasts and that on there, but now we're really making a push at this. We're on here, as you can see, pretty much every night. We've got new shows coming up during the season. All our podcasts go on the Anfield Agenda YouTube channel, and everything is 100% free. And that's the important thing here. We spoke before about our kind of passion in believing that Liverpool content should be 100% free. Well, any content we put out, I should say, should be 100% free. So if you are watching, you're wondering should you subscribe, I think you should, obviously. And you'll also get notifications of whenever we go live. So do hit that subscribe button. If you have a moment, please help us grow the channel. Craig, do you have an FPL league? I think I've already just answered that one. Liam said, hang on. What are the blue comments in that screen? Pinterest or something? Oh, to my right. So basically, I have two different screens open in front of me. I've got the OBS screen, which is the red between the lines screen that you're talking about with like the cartoons behind me and all that stuff. And then there's that chat bar to the right hand side. So where that chat comes from is we use something called Restream. And Restream allows us to stream across multiple platforms at once. So all our streams go out on YouTube, they go out on Twitter, they go out on Periscope. I think that's the only three for the minute. So what you're seeing here are both the YouTube comments, the Periscope comments and Twitter comments all rolled into one chat function. And that's what you see to my right there in that blue chat. I have a different screen open just for you guys, so we can get all the YouTube chats separately. And then it makes it easier for me to kind of differentiate and get to read out more of your guys' comments. I hope that answers your question. That's about as technical as I can get, Liam, by the way, mate, because as I said, I'm retarded when it comes to stuff like this. Brian said, Craig, New Balance has made some good kits in the past 2 seasons, but the New Balance logo just sucks. Who would you want next? Adidas, if I'm being honest. I don't like the way they had a little sly dig at us, but I would like to see Adidas back if we had to replace them. I just don't like Nike. Under Armour, yeah, I wouldn't mind Under Armour, to be fair. That's a good shout. I have quite a collection of Under Armour tops and t-shirts, so yeah, Under Armour wouldn't be a bad shout either. They make some damn nice clothes. Fakir will be announced Monday morning, is my guess, says Scotty LFC 5HD. I'm just calling you Scotty from now on, if that's okay. Or Scott, excuse me. It's not even Scotty, it's Scott. So I'm just going to say Scott from now on, buddy, if that's okay. Wrigley Mick says Fakir has 2 years left on his contract. I heard Liverpool said there is a deal on the table to Outlast to accept it or not, but who knows? I'm fucked if I do, says Mick. V8 just seems to have hit the Allison button too many times there. Maybe his keyboard got stuck or something. Oh, and then he says, I fucking love him. As do I, my friend. As do I. I mean, really. Louis seems to be not very much a fan of Mr. Oliver Bond there, giving him a middle finger. Long Live King Mo said, what's the story here then, Craig May? The story is that we're all just sitting on our hands waiting for something to happen, my friend. I think it's going to happen. I've been saying these to you guys for weeks now. I think there's one more in the bag here. I think there's one more deal for Liverpool to do and a few more outgoings as well. And are we waiting to see what money we get for the likes of Mignolet, Danny Ings, players like that, Divock Origi? Is that what we're doing here? Are we looking to see how much we can possibly free up before making one last push to sign somebody else? I don't know. Might be worth thinking about. Man like Ben said, I think we'll get a visit from the main man tonight. The main man's here. The Anfield Egg. What more do you want? I tell you what, we will be getting a visit from the main lady though. We will be getting a visit from Cash in about probably 20 minutes or so. As I said, God love her, she got a flat tire. She was doing a comedy gig tonight and she got a flat tire on the way back. So how shitty is that? So hopefully we get Cash on in the next 20 minutes or so. And I'm looking forward to hearing her thoughts on what might happen in the last week of this window. Damo said, Real Madrid saying they're now after young players but still heavily linked to 30-year-old Willian for 50 or 60. It's Barca that are linked to Willian, isn't it? Or were linked to Willian. I haven't really seen Real Madrid linked to him. I could be wrong on that, but as far as I remember it was more Barcelona. Mark said, who would be your ideal young kid signing? For me, Julian Brandt. Massive potential. Well, look, it's no secret Klopp all like Julian Brandt. Our own contributor Dave seems to think that Julian Brandt has his mind set on joining Bayern Munich when he leaves Leverkusen. So that one seems to have been ruled out from what I know of anyway. Pulisic. It has to be Pulisic, Mark. I've said it for a long time. Pulisic has always been a dream signing of mine for Liverpool. I just think he fits in so many. He just ticks so many boxes from a playing perspective, from a marketing perspective, from growing the Liverpool brand around the world, especially in the North American market. For me, Pulisic, hands down. Although, look, for being really greedy and money wasn't an object, and Mbappe, obviously. But that ain't gonna happen, is it? If we're being honest with ourselves here. Damos. Oh God, you've not got a stand-up career ahead of you, Damo. Nor have I, mate. So I'm not having a dig in that way. He said we're all a little bit deflated. The cash is going to be late because of a flat tire. I do love a shitty joke as well. So well done for the contribution, buddy. As he said, are you for or against the early closing of the window? Again, I know I said this so many times tonight, but that is the subject we just spoke about on the Transfer Talk podcast as well. So maybe we're all just thinking along the same lines here. I'm for it in general. I like the idea of it. I like that players can't possibly play against a team 3 times in the league because of a move. So well, I suppose technically they can if they go in January. So, but no, I do like the fact that when the league starts, the players are where they are and the clubs know what squad they have. I didn't like that if a club had a shitty start to a season, they still had 4 weeks or whatever after the league started to bring in another player. That seems very unfair. But from the point of view of other clubs now being able to sit back, so let's look at this from the perspective of Fekir. Let's use him as an example. So everybody knew if Liverpool was in for Fekir that the price was going to be suddenly inflated. So Liverpool were quoted, 50 odd million quid from 46 million, something like that. Now if Liverpool can't go and get that deal done, then obviously the Premier League window's closed and all them clubs are cut off. So then that leaves other European clubs to come in. And let's be honest here, Premier League clubs often have to pay an inflated fee for players because they know that there's money in the Premier League. So maybe some clubs are going to look at this and go, right, well, once the Premier League window closes, then we know that we can go after players. We're probably not going to be blown out of the water by other clubs because we can compete. And we're probably going to get some of these players at really, really good prices compared to what we may have to pay if Premier League clubs suddenly became interested. So I think it does put clubs at a disadvantage, but purely from a perspective of competition in the Premier League, then I think it's a good thing. I'd like to see it spread out across all the leagues, but obviously that's hard to do when the Bundesliga starts 2 weeks after our league, and I think the Spanish league starts 1 week after our league, so it's tough to manage. We should get Draxler, says Alex Gomez. Why haven't we signed Messi? Lack of ambition. Edwards out. Junior's heading off for half an hour. I'll talk to you later on, buddy. The child who lives in the bin said, have you seen Zidane to United? No, I haven't. The last I heard about Zidane was Christian telling me that he looked like he might have been going to, where's the World Cup, the next World Cup? Where is it? The hot country that the next World Cup is in. I can't even fucking remember where it is now. Not Doha. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. The next World Cup, wherever that is, where is it? That's doing my head in. It's not a man. Where is the next World Cup? I'm going to scroll down because I know one of you guys will have put Qatar, thank you. So, the next World Cup's in Qatar, and Christian had said to us that he'd been offered a ridiculous incentive to take over act as the head of Qatari football to kind of boost up their league. And Christian went as far as to saying that they even had a plan for nationalising some players to get them citizenship so they could play. So, I don't know, but the figures that Christian was mentioning there to us were serious money. It was something like 30 million quid a year or something. It was big bucks. So that's the last I'd heard about Zidane when he was leaving Real Madrid. But I don't know, he'd be a perfect manager for United, don't get me wrong. I can totally understand what they would, but I don't know. Why is Wrigley Mick sounding off the Gark alert? We have our own version of Garth Mulbridge here in the chat, of course. Just scrolling back because I did scroll back down to get to some of those. Nathan said that it's going to be 2-0 to Liverpool against West Ham on the opening day of the season. Liam said, "What's your surname, Craig? Is it Slist? As in Craigslist. Sorry, yeah, a bit dense. It took me a second to get that one. No, it's Holden, but it is my surname." Did Lovren join the pre-season? Not yet. But he would be the very last back, wouldn't he? Having played in the final, so I think he should be there in the next few days, I'd imagine. Sarah Love said, "Seems the calm before the storm regarding Liverpool." I'm with you on that one, Sarah. I said that earlier on. It does seem like things are a little too quiet now. Brian said, "How do I disable slow mode in the chat?" You can't, buddy. It's something that Connor put on at their end, and it's to stop people coming in and spamming links, which we've seen people do a few times. They just come in and go, "Big Titty TV," and just spam it all down the chat. So yeah, it's to stop that. But you should be able to comment enough. I think if memory serves me correct, slow chat allows you to comment every 15 to 20 seconds or something like that. So that's why it's on. I will have a chat with Connor to see if he thinks it's worth disabling it going forward. But at the moment, Connor thinks it's beneficial to us for having it turned on. Niall said, "Does Mane, Keita and Salah leave in January for the African Cup of Nations?" No, it's been moved. That's now a summer tournament, so that thankfully the Africa Cup of Nations is not going to impact the Premier League clubs anymore. It's now a summer tournament, so great news all around on that one. Nathan suggests that Camacho is a young player who has a good future this year. Good shout as well. We've seen him obviously played at right back during the pre-season, and apparently he's a midfielder, isn't he? So it goes to show you again how versatile so many of our players are. West Ham to sign Brahimi plus Marega and Felix. Is that Joe? I'm not sure if I pronounced that one correctly. Maverick said, "If we need to compete with a strong squad, we've good players on the bench, but we lack players that can re-spark the team if needed or score a goal as a plan B." Yeah, I get where you're coming from. We look to our bench now and we've Shaqiri, good player. Sturridge, good player, but we haven't got that. Well, Shaqiri maybe, to be fair, might have that guile and creativity, but I get where you're coming from. I wouldn't mind another fast, pacey player to come on and run at a tiring team's to run at a tiring team. So yeah, I think that's where maybe a Pulisic or somebody like that would benefit us. Long live King Mo says, "Can't hear you, speak up." Can everybody else hear me okay? Is my volume level okay for everybody else? Nathan Carter said, "You don't look nervous, great work, Clay." I can assure you I am. Every single night I come on here, mate, I am. Craig, Liverpool are getting a new sponsor at the end of the season, either Nike or Adidas. Not sponsor, shirt manufacturer, I think you mean. Yeah, I've seen that a few people comment. My personal preference there will be Adidas out of those two, but somebody else mentioned Under Armour earlier on, and I wouldn't mind Under Armour at all. But yeah, I said it time and time again, I fucking don't like Nike kits. Don't know why it is, I just don't like Nike kits. Maverick said, "Please hit the like button and subscribe. Let's feed the man at the AA." Look, that subscribe thing, if we can hit 2,500 subscribers tonight, I'm going to be going to bed a very, very, very happy bald egg. Seriously, if you can do that, guys, if you're watching, you haven't yet subscribed, just hit that button and send Connor to Space Camp, because that's what it's all about. Sending Connor to Space Camp is what this channel was started for. Our own Garth Mulbridge is in. Good evening, Garth. Great to see you, buddy. Liverpool need Benfica to be knocked out also to get into pot 2, said Dave Trainer. When is the blue shite going to move away from the holy grounds into the sea? The Bramley Apple Pie in the Sky Stadium, Liam, which doesn't look like it's moving along anytime quick. John Achterberg should still get sacked, said Louis. Brandt is Kieran's dream signing. Bailey for Junior. Gavin said Zidane is a rumour if Mourinho leaves. And Ryan said, "By the time we sign Fekir, we would have realised that Shaqiri is better." And Luke said, Did you see we got Isaac Christie Davies from Chelsea? Remember the name? I remember that when that deal got done. All right. Is he another one that's going to have to go through a tribunal though? Because he's so young and he came through the Chelsea youth system. I could be wrong on that one, but that's usually the case, isn't it, with young players? Liam reckons that Timo Werner is a perfect signing. Obviously Junior's gone with Mbappe, which I think most of us would love to see. I think any fucking fans in the world would love to see Kylian Mbappe at their club. What website would people be using for the fantasy football? Sky, fucking no for Sky for me. Sky can fuck right off. For me, it's the Premier League's own one, the Premier League, Fantasy Premier League. So go on to the Premier League website and it's on there. There's an app as well on the Apple Store, and I think on the Android Store, and it's a free app as well. So just put in Fantasy Premier League on there. Bakayoko is my dream signing, says Andre. Seriously? Would he'd be your dream? Interesting stuff. Even with Fabinho at the club. Liam said because Nike is the Manx. They're Adidas, mate. Don't forget they've changed over to Adidas now. Long live King Mo said I hope Emre doesn't win the club. Is that you saying doesn't win club next year, Ronaldo? Do you mean doesn't win the Champions League? To be honest, I've got no bad will towards Emre Can whatsoever. I think that during his time at Liverpool, he was an absolute professional. Even when his contract was running down, I don't ever remember him out there slagging off the club or doing anything to belittle the club. I think Emre Can performed very professionally. He saw out his contract, which is all you can ask a player to do. We may not have liked that he didn't re-sign, but maybe he just didn't hear from Klopp what he wanted to hear. Maybe he thought with Naby Keita coming in, and maybe Klopp said, "Look, we're bringing in Fabinho as well." So, for me, I just think he acted very professionally. We can't slag players off for saying their contracts are worthless and then kind of moan about somebody who seen out their contract and honour the contract completely. Marty McFly said New Balance bringing back the blood red home jersey was a great move. It really was. I mean, I can't imagine not having that beautiful colour red in my life now, Marty. It's just fucking beautiful. I don't like that people think it's a United red. Some fans moan about it, but I think it's absolutely beautiful. German football journalist Raphael Honigstein says the Pulisic's current situation. Honigstein lauds Liverpool in regards to the recent transfer activity and believes they could seek a deal for Pulisic in 2019. Adidas makes the United kit, not Nike, Kieran is pointing out. Space Frog says Craig, Nike and Puma is utter garbage. Warrior, Diadora, Adidas and New Balance are much better. Well, Warrior are New Balance now, so Warrior Football, their parent company was New Balance and they've stopped making football stuff, so they now have New Balance football instead. Diadora would be embarrassing if I'm being honest. I've no idea if they make good football stuff because I don't think I've ever bought a Diadora product in my life, but to me we just look like cheap bastards if we had Diadora stuff. Adidas, New Balance, Under Armour, any of those would be fucking delicious for me. What's your starting 11 for West Ham? Says Peter McPeatface. I think I've said this before, Peter, but I do love that name and I love the panda. So starting 11 for West Ham for me, it would be Alisson, Klein, and I say Klein because I don't know if Trent is ready. If he is ready, then Klein. So we'll go Alisson, Klein, Van Dijk. Probably, I don't know, is Matip going to be fit? I don't know how bad that injury is. Matip or Matip or Gomez, either one of those. Left back Andy Robertson, then I'd go Fabinho, Keita, probably Gini Wijnaldum if I'm being honest, just because he's had a full pre-season. And then the front three I'd go with Salah, Sturridge and Mane. I just don't think that Firmino will be ready. But again, he's so fit and he's so capable of playing and putting in 100% that maybe. But personally, that's what I go with. So just to go through it again, and what I think we're going to see would be Alisson, Klein, Van Dijk, then Matip or Gomez, depending on fitness. Then Andy Robertson, Keita, Fabinho, Gini Wijnaldum, Danny Sturridge up front, Salah and Mane. 2,473, says Wrigley Mick. So what, we're 27 subs off, so still a little bit to go, but come on, we can do that. Thomas said, you're getting some mileage out of that Tato Park mug. It's a proper cup, it's not just a throwaway cup. I paid £7 for this cup, Thomas. It's a proper sturdy Tato Park cup. It's not a cheapy plastic one, like it's proper plastic. So I definitely will be getting some mileage out of it, mate, because I love drinking out plastic cups because I'm a big fucking bald child. And it's a good diet chav vessel, to be fair. Starting 11 for West Ham, we've gone through. Naz said, would you rather us go for Pulisic or Fekir? It's a tough question with two different answers. I think Fekir would be better for us this season. I think Fekir is what we need immediately, Naz. But long term, I think Pulisic will probably be a better signing. So I don't know how to answer that. If I had to sign one this year, I'd probably be a little bit greedy. Go short term and say Fekir, but I know long term Pulisic would probably be the better signing. Cameron said, why are United fans obsessed about Liverpool? I don't know. I don't get it. I've said it to you guys before. I don't get why other fans come in, troll Liverpool fans, and waste their time and energy talking about a club they should have no interest in. It seems utter nuts. It's absolutely fucking nuts to me. But they're all obsessed. They do seem to be all obsessed, and I take that as a sign that they're worried, mate. Space Frog says, Craig, the Hammers and the new signings will be terrified when they come to Anfield for the opener, and as they fucking should be. Anybody rocking up to Airgaff should be terrified. Liverpool should put a marker down in this opening game and absolutely spank the Hammers and send them back to London with their tails between their legs and saying, well, that's what's in store for all of you motherfuckers this season. You come to Anfield, you're going to be in for a horrible 90 minutes. So just send the reserves. Don't even bother fucking trying because you're wasting your time. That's what I hope happens. Obviously, look, I'm just an optimist, but that's what we all want, isn't it? Who's the biggest club in Ireland, says Alex Gomez. That's something that you probably get a lot of argument from Irish people about. I mean, at the moment, the top two from a footballing standpoint are Cork City and Dundalk. From a fan base point of view, you're probably Shamrock Rovers, maybe. St. Pat's have a good following. Bohemians, they're probably the three big Dublin clubs now. Shelburne would be my club in Ireland, but they're in Division 1 at the minute, which is a division below. But at this moment in time, the two best clubs in Ireland would probably be Cork City and Dundalk. Mavericks going for Allison, Klein, VVD, Gomez, Robertson, Milner, Fabinho, Keita, Mane, Sturridge and Salah. Ben said, imagine if we still had Coutinho in this team. If we still had Coutinho, we may not have Fabinho or Allison, or we would have now be Keita, but yeah, we may not have some other very good players. And I'd rather have a solid goalkeeper than a midfielder who was almost a luxury, just personally, because that's how much I wanted us to get a solid keeper. Gavin said, Salah hasn't travelled with LFC to France. Karius was meant to pick him up but dropped them. Don't say that. No, nobody's dropping Air Mo. Mo's been wrapped in cotton wool. Reebok needs to make a comeback into the 21st century, says Liam. Jesus, I think they were amongst the worst kits we've ever had. I look back at those Reebok kits and Jesus Christ, they were awful. Junior said Hendo and Lovren probably won't play. Adidas seem to be really expensive though. Nike as well, to be fair. I mean, I think, yeah, that's another positive about New Balances. I think that the price of the shirts are a little bit less expensive than Adidas and Nike. Cameron said, I had the 09 grey Adidas away kit. That was beautiful. It was, yeah. I mean, I love Adidas kits in general. Look, you see what I wear every night, guys. I mean, look, I wear Adidas clothes here pretty much every night on the stream. If it's not a Liverpool shirt, it's usually an Adidas t-shirt. So I am a big fan of Adidas clothes. I have boxes of Adidas runners as well. So, I wouldn't mind Adidas. I just wasn't happy with the little dig they had at us when they left the last time, when they wouldn't agree a new deal with the club. I didn't quite like that little kick in the nuts. I didn't think it was necessary. Lubac said the young players will get more game time against Napoli. I think, I'd slightly disagree, mate. I think we're going to see probably the a good chunk of the 11 that we're going to see against West Ham play that game against Napoli. Luke said, imagine the scenes when we announce Connor and Craig. It'd be like Benson and Hedges during the film. The Ron Bassett, England manager. That's what it'd be like if me and Connor rocked up. Fucking Benson and Hedges. Nathan said, Craig, when September hits, any chance you and the team could start live streams earlier, as I and many others go back to college? If not, I understand. For me, from a standpoint of live streams, probably would be able to go a little bit earlier, mate. When the kids go back to school and stuff. All my life is basically revolves around my son, my 6-year-old son. So at the moment, the reason we start these live streams I start them is because he's gone to bed. So I've got some free time, and I usually come on here pretty much straight after Lucas goes to bed. So in the summer, or in the winter, yes, he'll be going back to school, so he'll be going to bed even earlier. So yeah, we can definitely look at starting them at maybe 8:30 or something like that. I get where you're coming from as well. What else have we got? Edwards negotiated for the tire to inflate itself. Steve said the Anfield rap video today was titled "One More Signing?" They know. Yeah, I mean, my admiration for the guys of the Anfield rap. They make great stuff, and they certainly have the finger on the pulse, and great contacts, of course, as well, with Melissa Reddy and other people that they have dotted around. So look, I've said this in the podcast as well. You have to look to these other accounts like them, to people that have the finger on the pulse, and I think one more signing as well. Maybe I'm setting myself up for a fall here, but I do think one more signing. Brad Smith says, I'd love to see Leon Bailey, who is the pace that young man has is extraordinary. He's been linked with Chelsea a little bit though, Brad, hasn't he? So, but look, he's quality. He's only been at Leverkusen 1 year, if memory serves me correct. Didn't he come in from, wasn't it a Belgian club or something? Was it Genk he came from? Or Ghent? One of those two, I think. Naz said, do you think we still need a striker, or do you think Sturridge is enough as a backup? No, I don't think he's enough. From quality perspective, then yes, I do think he's enough, because I think Daniel Sturridge is an absolute quality striker. Just fitness, buddy. That's the only problem there with Daniel Sturridge. And it's a big problem. I say it's the only problem, but it is a big problem. I'd love to see us bring one more person in. Pulisic would, tick boxes because he's a wide forward, he's pacey. Fekir would tick a load of boxes because he gets you goals from that hole or the attacking midfield role. So what is he, 24 or something last year for Lyon, which is amazing from midfield. Steve said, early transfer window for when we buy early. Love watching Chelsea and United panic. I seen something on Sky earlier on. They were saying that Roman Abramovich and whoever's head of Chelsea's transfer activity are in the south of France at this moment in time discussing who they're going to allow to leave and who they're going to bring in. I mean, fucking hell. With 7 days to go in the window, they're only having these conversations now. That seems absolutely ludicrous. Cobra said, if the window closes early, it must be across all leagues to stop other clubs poaching from the Premier League. I think the only thing that might stop them poaching from us is the money that we're capable of paying them, but it certainly gives them an advantage to gain other players, of course. I spoke about that earlier on. The Raptor said, we've got to get our heads into the side that we've got. We don't need a plan B. We need to make sure plan A is spot on. And again, I agree with that. I said to you guys last night, I like Pep Guardiola's idea of, well, look, if plan A isn't working, then we need to revisit plan A and find a better version of plan A. And that's where I am as well. I kind of think that I like the style of football we play. So if it's not working, then we just need to keep going at it and maybe tweak it a slight bit, but believe in what we're doing. Randy said, evening Craig, and I'll question, which would you make possible? Hang on, let me just read this before I call it out. Make it possible. which would make us possible champions. Excuse me. Another defensive or attacking midfielder, a Firmino backup, and the Mancs are still moaning. I just think we need another attacking option, and whether that be an attacking midfielder or a wide forward, I honestly feel that that's all we're lacking. And even at that, it's just for cover, or it's just to give squad depth, because our first 11 at this moment in time, it's capable of beating anybody, and I mean anybody in Europe at all. So it's just getting that strength and depth, and that's all we're lacking. I mean, we're really, really close, and we could already be there. I mean, I could be just moaning here for no reason. We could already be there. I mean, let's be honest, how many of us thought after Coutinho left, how many of us thought that the season might peter away or fall apart? And the exact opposite happened. The team came together even more, and we got that amazing season and that amazing run in the Champions League. James Bauer said, apparently Max Meyer is close to a move to Crystal Palace. Thoughts? Thoughts are that, look, they seem to be the only club that are willing to pay them money. We've seen that he was wanting something like 8 million quid a year. A lot of clubs around Europe seem to have been of the mindset that he's just not worth it. So, again, it's up to them. Cash is almost back, so I'll give her a couple more minutes and she will be good to come on. So, yeah, we'll have Cash with us very soon, so that's great news. Let me just reply to her. Cool. Right, guys, where are we at with the subs? Have we moved along a little bit? Let's try and get us to that 2,500. So, if you are watching, do take a second, hit that subscribe button. It does help us grow the channel. As I said, it means a lot to us as well. Dirty Girl is in. Hello to you. Great to have you join us again. Liam said, what other team in the world could you lose a player worth 140 million and it makes you better? The only manager that can do that is Jurgen Klopp, maybe Guardiola. I can't even pronounce your name, mate. Is it Lachlan Tix JJ? Again, I'm sorry I can't pronounce that one. He said, Craig, you're not a fan of the guys at Redman TV. I just never heard you mention them. Just curious. No, mate, I've said it before. I have absolutely nothing but respect for anybody who makes Liverpool content. The only reason I perhaps don't mention the guys at Redman TV is because I don't watch their content, and that's only because I don't watch much stuff on YouTube. It's not because I don't think what they do is good. I have an immense respect for Chris and the guys there, that the content that they make. I just don't watch it personally. I have an Anfield Rap subscription because I drive a lot of the time and I'm busy a lot of the time, so I listen to podcasts. But from Redman TV perspective, I absolutely have nothing against the guys from Redman TV. The work that they put in is unbelievable. So no, nothing but admiration. As I said, I just don't talk about them because I genuinely don't watch much stuff on YouTube. Wrigley Mick said, we'll win number 6 in New Balance. Kada will show Pogba how to play football. Escapado said, I think there'll be one more signing, probably a marquee, judging by the amount of players looking to be moved on. Gordon McGee said, we need another striker. If Firmino or Sturridge go down, we're screwed. Even a veteran like Glenn Murray or Chicharito give you 8 to 10 goals a season. I don't think Glenn Murray would suit our system, to be fair. Chicharito, I get where you're coming from, but I think we're maybe stretching it a bit with Glenn Murray. But I do agree with your sentiment. I think we definitely do need somebody else there. I'd rather we went a bit more high caliber personally. And I think the days of us signing a stopgap like that seem to be over, thankfully. Dara McGee says, Richarlison and Sigurdsson 95 million, Salah, Mane and Firmino 100 million. It does make you smile, Dara, when you see that, doesn't it? I mean, fucking Ev. Only the Ev. God bless them. And their little blue hearts. Their little bitter hearts. Was anyone watching Chelsea Arsenal? Morata is worse than Barini, says Andres. Just caught the very start of it before I recorded the Transfer Talk podcast, buddy. So no, I didn't see it. I heard Arsenal won on penalties though, so yay. I actually had a media pass to that game as well, so I technically could have went up to Dublin and gone to that one, but I told you how little I think of either of them that I couldn't be arsed to go up and watch it. I'd rather be on here talking to you guys. Game Central said, who was better, Messi or Ronaldo? For me, it's Messi every day of the week, without question. I think he's the better player. The Raptor agrees, Messi by a country mile. Who else have we got? What's all this? Oh, Kado will make Pogba cry. Pogba could be off. I mean, did you guys not hear that apparently Pogba has met with Barcelona officials? So, does Pogba want to get out of Manchester United? Let's wait and see. I mean, I don't blame him. I mean, who the fuck would want to look at Mourinho's sourpuss and play that negative brand of shite week in, week out? Ryan said, it feels like most teams have forgotten that the window shuts early. Or it was a hoax, as if it doesn't really shut at all. It does seem that way. I mean, how many clubs are struggling to get stuff done? It's crazy. Again, a couple of people just saying Messi. Cheeky bid for Ricky Lambert, says Owen Farrelly. I mean, I don't know, he's probably back doing a bit of paint and decorating at this point. But look, Ricky Lambert didn't work out, but Jesus, it must have been a dream come true for the lad. I mean, just from that perspective alone, it must have been an absolute fucking... I can only imagine when that deal was being done for him, how he felt inside, him being a Liverpool fan all his life. Lubac said, I think the only player we could sign would be Fekir. Peter McPeefay says, will you be at the Anfield Rap live show at the Button Factory on Friday? No, mate, I won't. No, I won't. I could give you a politically correct answer to that one, but the real answer is that this might sound horrible, but I just fucking refuse. I'd see it like a sign of weakness if I went to who kind of are, like, as much as they're way above us and all, I do see people like that as a competitor. So whilst I said I have a subscription to their content, I enjoy it, but I'm not fucking going there and sitting in the crowd like a fan and paying 15 quid or something to get in. I mean, no, that ain't gonna happen. It's just, I don't know, Connor doesn't understand it either way. I wouldn't do it, because I think Connor is going to the Redmen show, I think, because he's friends within the Redmen, so I think he's going to go to that one. But for me, nah, I won't be going to the live show. If I wasn't doing this and making podcasts, then you know what, I probably would, because as I said, I love what they do. But it's just stupid fucking pig-headedness for me that I'd almost see it as a sign of weakness, if that makes sense. And that's probably just in my own fucking head. But look, I said I'm always going to be honest with you guys, so that's my honest answer, Peter. Peter Crouch for 500 grand, said Lubac. Hello, darkness, my old friend. I'm not just singing that, by the way. Sorry, Liam wrote that. So blame Liam for having to listen to me singing. A couple of people saying David Ospina as our number 2. If he can stay injury free for long enough, because Jesus, during that World Cup he didn't seem to be able to stand up for 20 minutes. But yeah, no, he would be a decent backup, to be fair. It is a good show. I think I've caught up. I think I've actually caught up with your chat, which is brilliant. I'm taking that as a win. Ian Turlington said Mino Raiola has been offering Pogba out to other clubs, including Manchester City, back in January. Can you imagine the heads on the United fans if he ended up signing for City at one point? That'd be fucking nuts, wouldn't it? Steve said the window shuts early, and that's the dangerous bit when the rest of Europe can bid. It is a little bit unfair, but look, Premier League clubs knew what they were at when they voted about this. Steve said Gark Moldbridge should have a live show at the edge of a cliff. That's making me laugh, because I'm actually imagining that show now. Lubac said, I hope United sign Yerry Mina, as do I. I do, I honestly do hope they sign Yerry Mina. I'd be much more worried if they had signed Harry Massivehead Maguire than Yerry Mina. Andrade said Chelsea linked to Higuain, Rugani, Caldera, Savic, Alcantara, Bernard, Martial, and signed nobody. Yeah, it looks like Higuain's off to AC Milan on loan for a year. So yeah, another one that got away for Chelsea. Maverick said, I wouldn't pay for the Red Men show either. You'll never walk alone. Again, as I said, but it's just the Red Men. I have nothing against them whatsoever. I've nothing but admiration for people that make Liverpool content, because I know the work that everybody puts in. Try and say my name. Okay, let me see. DTK Hearty Root. That's the best way I'm going with that one. So DTK Hearty Root, that's my guess at your name. LFC _5 said, if we get Fekir, it would transform our midfield into a world-class midfield. Lubeck said, will the real Gark Mulbridge please stand up? Please stand up. Round the outside, round the outside. Escapado says, when the window closes, I don't see how any club is going to allow anyone to leave without being able to get a replacement. I agree. I don't think you see Premier League clubs selling anyone they don't want to sell once our window closes. Because I can't imagine European clubs coming in and taking the best talent from Premier League clubs, because they just, if they can't get a replacement in, they just won't sell. Andre says, nah, they'll pay 100 million for Maguire. Seems like that Leicester just won't sell them Maguire, but every player does have his price, to be fair. So I'm sure if they threw 100 million down on the table for Slabhead, I'm sure Leicester would look at it. Okay, where are we? Adrian W1 said, Gark Mulbridge concluded that Fabinho wouldn't take the Premier League's intensity because he played in a crap league, contrary to the mighty Ukrainian Fred. I mean, you've said it yourself. It's just sour grapes. Excuse me. The truth is, they wanted Fabinho badly. Just look on YouTube at the Welcome to United Fabinho videos. They wanted him. They didn't get him. Fuck him. As I say all the time, fuck him. Fuck United. Fuck their manager. Fuck their fans. Let's only concern ourselves with the beautifulness that is Liverpool Football Club and the demigod that is Jurgen Klopp. We should sign... No, I'm not even reading that out, Ryan. I think you're just trying to wind me up. No, you know what I think of him after him stamping on the penalty spot and putting off James Milner. How dare he? And as Steve said, he's just a Poundland Allison. Tara said, Zaha Origi swap. That's a fair swap. But Jesus, yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. I think Zaha's a great player. But look, there'd be many, many millions to be put on top of that one. Adrian W1 said, thumbs up from Norway here. You're doing a great job, Craig. Thank you, mate. As I said earlier on, every time you get a kind comment like that, it does mean a lot. And there's certain days you come on here and you're absolutely knackered. I've had a couple of podcasts today before I came on here. Obviously, I was saying I had my son and my family and stuff to do. Well, to do, that's not really the right phrase. Stuff to do, family stuff to do. So coming on, sometimes you're a little bit tired, but when you see lovely comments like that, it makes it all worthwhile, and it gives you that little push you need to keep going and get through the longer streams. That taken into account, where are we? Have we pushed on at all towards that 2,500 subscriber target that we set tonight? So yeah, let me know, guys, because I said before, I can't see on my screen. So if anybody can whack it into the chat there, have we pushed along at all? If you're watching, it is your chance. Help us hit that goal. If you're watching the stream, you haven't yet subscribed, take a moment to do so. Help us grow the channel. All the content on here is 100% free. You'll get all our podcasts, all our live streams, watch-alongs, some interviews we're going to do along the way, some pre-recorded stuff as well. Lots of content, all 100% free. If anybody is watching and they want to contribute to the channel, and as I said, it's all free, but if you want to maybe buy Connor a pint, you want to buy myself a cup of coffee or something, you can do so in a couple of ways. You can go on to patreon.com/Anfield Agenda. That's patreon.com, patreon.com/Anfield Agenda, or you can go on to PayPal and put in the email address anfieldagenda@outlook.com. But as I said, we don't push that one at all. It's just if you want to do it, it helps us move things along a little bit, but no pressure from us on that one whatsoever. You guys just watching giving us that thumbs up and subscribing means the world to us. Evan Guest says, Mario Kovacic sensationally rejected a €60 million move to Manchester United, claims Marca, grain of salt. However, Kovacic is unwilling to join Manchester United due to Jose Mourinho's preferred playing style. I did read that earlier on. I honestly did. Bear with me 1 second. Okay, I just have to reply to Cash, so bear with me 2 seconds. Okay, I'm just going to have to get the keyboard open here. But yeah, I did read that, Evan, earlier on, mate. I read that he turned United down because he wasn't a fan of their style of play. And, you know, that says it all, doesn't it? We all know Mourinho does play a negative style, but to start having players turn you down, it makes me smile, I'm not going to lie. When will there be a new Cop Council podcast, says Adrian. We do that podcast, we record it every Sunday night, so they're usually out late Sunday night into Monday. But tonight we recorded a Transfer Talk podcast with myself, Chris and Dave. That's out on all the That's out on all the podcast apps right now. So iTunes, Spotify, Acast, whatever it is, they're out there right now. So it'll be up on YouTube tomorrow, that Transfer Talk podcast. Sorry guys, I'm just trying to get Cash here, so bear with me 2 seconds. I'm just flicking through a few things, trying to get Cash on. Okay, where are we? Okay. Hopefully we'll have Cash on in a second or two, so bear with me 1 sec. Cool. Right, let me go back into your comments. Leicester won't sell Maguire this summer. The owners are rich and don't really care about the money. They held on to Mahrez for 3 seasons after he wanted to leave. You know, guys, I'm going to put my earphones in just in preparation for Cash coming on, so bear with me 2 secs. 25 to go, said Frankie. So what we're at, 1,475 subscribers. Come on, guys, help us hit that number. Help us hit that 2,500 tonight before the stream ends. We've got about 45 minutes to go. It's a big ask, but if you're watching, you know what, take the time, hit that subscribe button. You may have already subscribed, and if that's the case, thank you. You're an absolute legend, and I very much appreciate you taking the time to keep watching us. Would you rather sell Karius or Mignolet, said Darren McGee. 100 million billion trillion percent Mignolet. I fucking hate SpongeBob SquareHead, and he most certainly needs to be moved on this summer. Probably both, though, to be fair. Maybe move out Karius. It'd be up to him, though. If he wants to go, whether that be permanent or on a loan, then, you know, it's the kid's choice. But definitely, if I had to pick one of those two, it was absolutely going to be Simon Mignolet, because I'm fucking fed up looking at him. I think we have Cash on the line. Let me just check. Cash?
We do. Hello.
Excellent. Can you guys hear Cash? Can you just let me know in the chat there? Somebody just give me a thumbs up or something if you can hear Cash. Cash, give us a few words.
Hi everyone. How are we? We all good? Hooray.
Cool. So hopefully people heard you there.
Yeah, well, sorry.
We hear her. Brilliant.
Back.
Andre said, Craig, don't be rude to our boy Simon. Cash, my dear, a flat tire. What the hell happened?
I'm lucky I had like the gear in my car to change it, but luckily it was alright. It wasn't like on the motorway, it was in the town, so I was able to sort of like, I didn't feel like I was going to be attacked and mauled by wolves. So yeah, it was fine. Just changed it and then came back, and I'm here talking about all things LFC, which is what I enjoy doing.
Well, you know, I've been looking forward all night to having you on, Cash, so I want to get your thoughts on what you think might happen in the last week of this window, and in particular with the whole Pulisic-Fekir situation.
I think now it's very clear that I think there's been a bit of a sort of a change in the tide in terms of what the fans want. I think before Fekir was like sort of perceived as, you know, the absolute be all and end all, and he was the one and he was the only one, but then the Pulisic rumours took hold again, and then all of a sudden Pulisic is looking the better option. He doesn't have the pre-existing medical issues in terms of the knee. He's younger. He's arguably more of a commercial draw in America, an area that Liverpool want to be, you know, really dominant in. And then all of a sudden you've got fans saying, well, we take either of them, but if we could really pick, we'd probably have Pulisic. So for me, I don't think Pulisic is going to come in this window. I said that before. I'd reiterate that now, but unfortunately, I don't think either of them are going to come in. But I think if they did, that would absolutely make us the unequivocal winners of this transfer window.
Just
Hopefully, we do some more business, though. Sorry.
going by, well, a couple of people are saying, I think it was the Mirror, somebody suggested that, Raphael Honigstein suggested that maybe Liverpool are going to look to do something similar that we did to Naby Keita and perhaps try and get Pulisic done for next summer.
Well, it's interesting. I think that would really, really. Obviously, if you want a player, you want him now. But we've seen with the Keita deal that you don't always get what you want. It's just one of those things, and it's my concern would be it's a two-sided thing. So it would be good because then you would have the player, you could start looking at how the player would integrate for the following season. You could really forward plan, and Jurgen Klopp and the core of that team will still be there. So that's a good thing. But then conversely, it's a bad thing because you've then got a player who doesn't really want to be at the club they're at anymore. You saw last season with Keita, although he was still excellent in patches, there were accusations that he was acting out because obviously he didn't get the move that he wanted, and so on and so forth. So it's also a bad thing for the player, I think, to be in limbo. And obviously with us as well, if we want the player, we would love to use him now. But then, if it's the only way that the club will willingly do a deal with us in respect of Pulisic, then you'd have to take it. But you would say that Dortmund do hold the cards, although it's not as strong as obviously certain positions would be because he only has 2 years left on his deal. But I wouldn't be adverse to a deal like that, a deal that will go through, but not yet. I think that wouldn't bother me particularly, but I know some fans are more impatient, if you like.
Yeah, looking at the Pulisic thing, I've said, I was asked the question, who would I prefer at this moment in time, Fekir or Pulisic? And the honest answer is, for this season, the answer will probably be Fekir, but in the long term, my answer would be Christian Pulisic. So if we're suggesting that we can get Pulisic done for next summer, my only worry, Cash, would we perhaps be going into this season gambling a little bit too much on no injuries to them front three again?
Well, that's it. I think that's a big concern in the sense of, okay, so Daniel Sturridge has come in and had a very good pre-season, so if he stays fit, he would be great cover for Bobby Firmino. But then there's a question mark over the fact, can he stay fit? And even if he can, you still don't really have brilliant cover for, Mane or Salah, which obviously Fekir or Pulisic would act as. So, there's an argument to say that if neither of these deals happen, and there's a very strong possibility that that's the case, neither of the deals will happen, that you're going to be in a position whereby you've strengthened the team overall in terms of the midfield and the goalkeeper particularly, but you still, like you say, have the same problem in terms of you've got amazing quality in the front three but very little behind. It is a dilemma, and with the transfer window closing early this year, obviously it is more difficult to foresee that anything significant will happen.
And with regards to outgoings, a couple of people were talking about the goalkeeper situation tonight, Cash. It seems like Simon Mignolet wants out of the club. We've seen him linked to Besiktas. We've seen Barcelona, his name being linked there. But a couple of people in the last few days have been suggesting maybe that we might be looking to move on both goalkeepers. What's your thoughts on that one?
I don't see him moving on both. I really think that would be. When have you known a club realistically to sell 3 goalkeepers in one summer? I think that's, if you just look at it, forget about obviously the fact that Karius is going through what he is and Mignolet's crap. Now, it's very rare that a club does that because you don't have a sort of goalkeepers normally to sort of just to step in, particularly when you consider that, look at us on the tour. I mean, you have Karius there, but then without Mignolet and Ward, although Queven Kelleher and Camille Grabara, there's great promise with, I don't think either of them are ready to, be a regular fixture in the match day squads, for example, or even third choice. They're both very young, so I think it would be careless of the club to let both keepers go. Now, if both keepers want to go, that's an interesting point because, what if Karius says I want out and Mignolet says I want out, and they both try and force the move? Then you're in a bind because you're going to end up keeping one of them against their will. So it is a very delicate situation, and it does, as Tom I think said in one of our previous pods, he said purely from a numbers perspective, could we end up regretting selling Danny Ward? And I think there's an argument to suggest that could be the case if Mignolet and Karius both angle for a move.
It is an interesting point because if we were to look at those three goalkeepers now from a perspective of knowing that we've got Alisson Becker at the club, then you know what I'm probably saying: keep Danny Ward and get rid of the other two.
Well, I think so because we sort of said this about a week ago on the Call Council podcast that Danny Ward, okay, Jurgen Klopp clearly doesn't think that he is of the right quality in terms of being Liverpool's long-term number one. That's clear and obvious. However, what is clear as well is that had he stayed, there would be no sort of scandal surrounding him in terms of like what's surrounding Karius at the moment. There would be no there'd be no sense of I deserve to be number one at a big club, and that's what Mignolet is struggling with now. He very clearly is disjointed by the fact that well, two keepers are effectively ahead of him in the pecking order now, and he believes he deserves, his to be number one at a big club. So when you consider all of those things, keeping Danny Ward would have been an inexpensive, non-problematic thing. And you do have to wonder that if the goalkeeper situation does change dramatically, I don't know if it will, but if it did, you would have to wonder, was it worth the 10 odd million that we got for Danny Ward, which, yes, is very good money for a keeper that is still relatively unproven. However, he it could have been useful to have him there because we do not know how this is going to go. It's not like the rest of the Liverpool goalkeeping situation is completely stable. I think that is a worry.
Yeah, it's a noodle scratcher, all right. And for me, the main thing to take out of this window from a goalkeeping perspective is that we signed Alisson Becker, and I'm still smiling deep down over that one. I just also want to get your opinion. Actually, do you know what? Fuck this. Firstly, how did your gig go? Because that's been on my mind all night.
It was very good. It was like an open mic, like a new one. So we had like a good full room, probably around 30 people there, which was good. And I ran some new material about my recent my recent breakup, so to speak, my recent uncoupling. And I did a new bit about that, and it went down really, really well. Everybody thought it was very funny, so I was happy with that. I was pleased. And like obviously now it's something that I can talk about in a self-deprecating way, and I think yeah, I enjoyed it. It was good. Thank you.
You did write that very quickly, to be fair. I mean, you were straight onto the content there, weren't you?
Well, that's it. I mean, look, I just think I don't know. I like to write about my life. I like to write about the things that happen, and I think I'm not very good at like completely lying about the things that happen. So this is sort of a recent thing in my life, and now as time passes, I'm starting to find the humor in it. And there's humor to be found in everything, and I think that's a message that everybody can relate to. It doesn't matter if it's sad or, you know, whatever it is. There's humor in everything, or humor can be found in everything. And with this, it sort of just felt like the appropriate time to write something that was like, okay, well this happened, but these are the funny elements of it. And as I say, I think people, audiences like that honesty. They enjoyed it, and a couple of people came up to me afterwards and were saying, oh, that was really funny the way you said that, and and it was good. It was nice to have, a silver lining, if you like.
Yeah, it is tough. I mean, I don't want to get into your personal life on here, but they do say that, some of the best material people have written, whether it be songs, comedy, or whatever, does come from pain. So,
Well, look,
you're a very creative person. I'm the least creative human being I've ever come across, but you're a very creative person. So I've no doubt that you've come up with something fantastic.
all right, thank you very much. I mean, to be honest, I think it's just one of those. Everyone has different mechanisms to deal with difficult things in their lives, and I think, you have your period of being sad about something, you have your period about being pissed off about it, or or whatever. But then, as I said, there is humor in it. There's funny things that can be written. I can take the piss out of myself, and I can laugh at the elements of the relationship that were good at the time, and I can poke fun at the fact that I'm I'm now gonna, I don't know, be a spinster till I'm 70 or whatever it is. It's not a self pitying exercise. It's simply well, you know what? Life can be difficult, but this is funny, and we should all laugh at it because that makes things a bit easier. And that's just the way I see it.
Sorry, Cash. I'm laughing here with some of the comments in the chat. Liam said, "Stop hitting on her, Craig." I think we both know that that definitely wouldn't be the case because I'd be banging my head against the fucking brick wall, Cash.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Apart from the fact that
I
my
don't know.
wife would kick my ass.
She'd kick my ass. She'd kick your ass, and then she'd kick my ass, even though neither of us have done anything wrong. But you know what? Your wife is an absolute ledge. So she is. I wouldn't mess with her. So,
Yeah, you
um,
don't fuck with gingers;
yeah.
they can get angry, as you well know.
Oh yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, definitely. Sorry.
Gingers, they can get angry, as I say. You well know that yourself. You don't fuck with a
Yeah.
ginger.
Yeah. I'm annoyingly fiery. I'm not always. Not always, but I can be, and I think people can confuse that with being like sort of genuinely like a scary person when actually, oh, I'm actually really soft. But I don't really suffer fools that easily. Why would you?
Oh, I'm with you on that one. I fucking hate stupid people. And I mean, not like people getting stuff wrong, because that happens. I mean, I hate ignorantly stupid fucking idiots that just can't take the time to try and learn something and just go around and think that what they think is gospel, even though factually they're completely incorrect.
Well, that's it. Like I think you've got a responsibility as a human being to to try and I don't know try and get your facts right and to try and have the right views and just to not be a bit of a not to be a dick really. That would be my view on it. And as you say, you're very good like that in the sense that you see things in a very like black and white way, and I think that's really really cool and really important, and it helps you judge situations really really well.
One thing that certainly hasn't been black and white, and I'm steering the conversation back towards Liverpool here, is the old emoji game that was going on last night. Did you see it between the journalists and stuff?
Yeah, but I didn't really. I mean, maybe the people in the chat can like help me understand this because I still don't really get it. Like what because I've been working a lot and I didn't get a chance to properly look at it. But what exactly is it meant to be? Or
So, from my version of events of last night, the first thing I seen was Oliver Bond writing Michael Edwards A, or Michael Edwards EH A. Then Christian Walsh of the Echo just tweeted an emoji of a hole.
oh,
And then we had James Pearce tweeting an emoji of a juggler. But I think, to be fair, somebody asked James Pearce for an emoji. But Kristen Walsh one was very interesting because, you know, the whole, somebody playing in the hole, that deep line role, is that what they were talking about? Nobody fucking knows. But it sent Twitter into raptures.
like overdrive. I don't know, if I do think it's kind of funny. Like if that's what we've kind of been if that's what it's come to in terms of like communication and how things are going to start being like leaked and so on, that is crazy. But I suppose maybe that is the way things are going. You know, you never know. But I'm not really sure what that means. I'm not very good at like deciphering these kinds of codes. But you know, if it means another signing's incoming, that would be very nice.
I mean, my emoji game is terrible. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, thumbs up is about my go-to emoji. I see Steve. Just to say, mate, I'm not gonna comment on that particular comment what you said there because I don't want to land myself in trouble because I'd have more interest in hearing what my 6-year-old child has to say about transfers than that particular subject, shall we say. So Cash, the window, as you said, 1 week to go. We've seen young Ben Woodburn today sign for Sheffield United on loan, which was a little bit of a surprise because it looked for everything like he was going to Aston Villa at one point.
I mean, I actually thought I was surprised by that, and I'll tell you why. I think I do feel that the Villa probably would have been well. Villa are more likely to be at the top, near the top of the table, you would say. So that was kind of why I thought they would be the front runners. Obviously, I know Wigan approached Liverpool for Ben and didn't, and they said no. So that implies to me that he wanted to go somewhere where they're going to be a bit further up the rankings. Okay, so Sheffield United does make sense from the perspective that Chris Wilder is a very highly rated manager. He did brilliantly with that team last year. Didn't they finish 10th after coming up from League One? So obviously that's a really, really good achievement. But I just thought Villa, in terms of a club, has a bigger stature. Steve Bruce is well respected within the game. Yes, they're having financial troubles, but they should still be thereabouts for promotion this season. So for me, it just felt a bit strange that that he went there, but he obviously has his reasons, and I think he's well advised, Ben. I wouldn't be shocked if he went there and absolutely like tore it up and was just absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm
And I
hoping he
hope
has a
he is.
breakthrough season this year as well. I really do see a future for him at the club. Steve, I meant to comment about after Thursday, buddy.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry, I was just replying to somebody in the chat there. No, I was saying
Oh,
I think this could be a breakthrough season for young Ben Woodburn, and I do see a future for him at the club.
yeah. I mean, I would hope so. I mean, what is clear is that when he broke through, the level of competition has only increased since then. So, the Ben Woodburn that broke through and that was so excellent, arguably he's going to have to raise his game, even more to to bring himself into contention, and that's fine. That's the way it should be. But you would hope. I mean, last season people are sort of saying he's regressed and he's gone backwards, and and all the rest. But I don't think it's as simple as that. I think he's probably just stagnated more than gone backwards. I think he's probably just not really kicked on as opposed to really drastically regressed. But the issue I think for him is now just to have the confidence of knowing, God, he is good enough. He's going to play every week, and he will play every week in that team. Like, there's no doubt about that. And I think, that's maybe what has influenced the decision partly to go to Sheffield United is that he will play in their first 11 every week, whereas arguably at Villa there is more competition. Not that he wouldn't make their team, because I think it's highly likely that he would.
Do you think the
But I
Grealish
think,
thing might have a lot to do with that? Maybe it looks like Grealish could be staying.
yeah, I think Grealish is a better player than Ben Woodburn at this moment in time. Obviously, he's more developed, he's more experienced, he's a Villa lad, all those things. So if he stays, he plays, and maybe there's some sort of insider knowledge in respect of that we're not aware of. I think what you would have to trust is that Ben and his advisors have chosen the right club that they consider correct for him at this stage in his development, and for some reason it's not Villa. So if it's he's chosen Sheffield United, as I said, I do think he will definitely play there. I think that will be really useful for him, and it's up to him to really keep himself in the forefront of Jurgen Klopp's mind, because only he can do that, and he does, and he does have the ability to do so. So hopefully we'll see how it goes, but I think it'll benefit him hugely, and I think he'll do really well.
I want to just touch on a comment in the chat from Kieran here, and he said, Craig, we should throw 80 million at Spurs for Christian Eriksen. He's got 2 years left on his contract, or throw money at Juventus for Pjanic. And the reason I wanted to kind of talk about the comment there from Kieran is, look, Christian Eriksen is a tremendous player, but I don't think there's been enough of clubs going in and unsettling players from other clubs within the Premier League. I think there hasn't been enough shithousery going on. And I think at times people should do that, whether they've been interested in the fucking player or not. We should be going in trying to unsettle clubs' players.
I think with Christian Eriksen, if you're using that specific example, I think you'd have difficulty, because I just don't see him. I don't see him leaving Spurs. I don't see him really having that inclination to go elsewhere, which I guess is kind of weird, because Spurs for me have shown absolutely no ambition this summer. Maybe it's because of their stadium, maybe it's because they've thrown all their money at Harry Kane. Whatever it is, if I was a Spurs player, I'd be thinking, what's going to happen here at this club. In terms of Christian Eriksen, do I think he'd really improve us? I don't really know. I think he is an excellent player, don't get me wrong, but is he better than any of our front three? Like, I don't think he is, if I'm honest. So I don't know.
He
I
could
don't
do a
think he's
job.
someone.
He could do a job in behind them, though. To be fair,
Yeah,
he could do a
absolutely.
tremendous job in there.
It would take an awful lot of money to prize him away, though, and I'd rather put that money into someone like Pulisic, for example, if we're going to use that. I think with Christian Eriksen, he is an excellent player, but is he in that truly elite, like, top bracket? It's hard to say, because yes, he does play for Spurs. Yes, he is the star of the Denmark team, but they've also Spurs and Denmark have also won nothing with him in the team. So it's not to say that he's a bad player at all, and I like him as a player an awful lot, and he seems like a nice guy as well. But I'm just saying that I don't think if he was to come in, I wouldn't be like, oh, this is amazing, like, give us the title now. I would think really good option, and Spurs are weaker because we've got him, but it wouldn't set my world alight.
Dirty Girl is saying Man U used to unsettle players like that, particularly Sir Alex Ferguson used that tactic and of unsettling players. I mean, and that is true. And I don't think there's enough of that anymore. I think clubs should be going in and kind of flexing their muscles and saying, do you know what, we want Harry Kane. United, for instance, should be going in and saying, we want fucking Harry Kane. There's 120 million, we want Harry Kane. Even if they're not going to sign him, just to unsettle the player, get in his head and weaken Spurs.
Well, yeah, I think it's interesting, like that we're sort of when we're talking about this, we're speaking about it in respect of purely unsettling Spurs players. Maybe that's just a coincidence, but to my mind, it feels like Spurs players are they're the most susceptible to being unsettled because very little is actually happening at their club. But if you were to look at, for example, it'd be very difficult, I think, for someone to come in now and unsettle either one of our front three because, well, unsettle them for what they'd be being offered something that probably isn't better than what they've got at Liverpool. Now, it's interesting, obviously, we don't really have the same level of shithousery as what we did when Alex Ferguson was obviously managing United, in that respect. But there has been talk of, for example, Spurs being interested in Anthony Martial, Toby Alderweireld going to Man United. But whether it's those clubs have deliberately unsettled those players to weaken their rivals, I'm not really sure. I think now it's more just about, making, I don't know, it's less about that because there aren't really characters like Alex Ferguson in the game as much anymore, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get it. Old school kind of managers. I mean, somebody pointed out as well that you've seen Mourinho do it to Stevie G as well a couple of times.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. It worked, didn't it? So it's a tactic as old as time, because players are ultimately human beings, and human beings are susceptible to being unsettled and affected by things, and I suppose it's the oldest story in the world. Weaken your rival by eliminating their strongest threat or weakening their strongest threat. But I don't know, I just don't really feel like, for example, I don't think it's something Jurgen Klopp or Pochettino would want to indulge in. I don't think we know enough about Sarri at the moment. Pep Guardiola can buy anything he wants. And then obviously you've got, Emery, who isn't really shopping in the top bracket for players anyway. And then all that's left in the top six is Jose Mourinho. And, well, I mean, he's sort of changed his tack now. He's gone from unsettling other teams' players to unsettling his own players and alienating them. If everybody saw, obviously, the latest with Anthony Martial this week.
That's nuts. So, it looks like he's going to be fined £160,000 for attending the birth of his fucking child.
I think it's the talk is that it's because he's been gone for so long or whatever. I mean, I just think that's absolutely ridiculous. If you saw the quotes from Mourinho on it, he was like, "Okay, so the baby's here, full of health. That's good. However, where is he? He needs to come back. It's bad that he's not here, etc. and so on." But I actually feel really, insofar as I can feel sorry for a Man United player, I actually feel very sorry for Anthony Martial. I think the way he's been treated there is pretty disgusting. And Jose Mourinho, just his man management skills are absolutely horrendous.
They really are.
Like, I think, if that was any other work environment, that would be tantamount to, like, victimization. Like, that would be tantamount to, being discriminated against in the workplace. You would have recourse by way of a HR department, etc. and so on. But because it's football, all these things can be said in the public domain, and although Martial could complain behind the scenes, he's really powerless in the whole scenario. And like you say, all of this because he's attended the birth of his child. And, I would argue that he's within his rights anyway, but he's particularly within his rights to do it because he knows that when Lukaku and all the others come back, that pushes him further down the pecking order again. So if he plans on playing him against Leicester on the opening day of the season, it's only because he's keeping the place warm for the lads that Jose really wants.
That's a fair point.
Would you again, footballers are human beings, and if you're Anthony Martial, are you motivated by that? I wouldn't be.
No, and he has a big career ahead of him. But I want to just touch on a question that Steve has said here about that situation. And he said, don't players get maternity leave? And look, with lads, it's paternity leave as far as I'm aware. But yeah. I don't know what the legal standpoint is in the UK with that. But I think in Ireland that there's an option to take time off, but it's not you're not legally entitled, I don't think, to have paternity leave in Ireland.
No, I think in England, my understanding is that fathers can take 2 weeks. That's, obviously, but then there is potential legislation that's going to come through. It's in my knowledge, and this might be slightly off, but I think I am right. But that'll change the legislation so that it's not just like a given thing that the mother is off for the 9 months or whatever it is. That it can be either parent that chooses that. I think that's the development that they're looking at making here. But as I said, I think with Martial, even if let's say it is 2 weeks, and I think it is, he's not been gone for 2 weeks. And if you were in any other working environment, there'd be no issue. But because footballers are, and I think it's an important time to touch on a very key point, and I think that sometimes, and particularly with a manager like Mourinho, the boys are expected to be machines. They're expected to be robotic machines that are programmed to perform at specific times, and nothing gets in the way. When really, that's not real life, and he should be allowed to go off and enjoy what is a really important thing for him without ramifications, particularly not public ones. That's already going to worsen an already bad relationship.
Yeah, and do you know what else it's an example of, Cash, with Jose Mourinho? It's an example of his short-term thinking. So you've seen Klopp coming in and said the approach he took with Nathaniel Klein. He seems to take a more holistic approach to everything going on around the football club. He wants a positive, happy environment, a family environment. Whereas with Jose Mourinho, we see at times that it's a short-term solution all the time. Just fix it now. Don't worry about the future. Who gives a fuck what state the club is in after I leave?
Well, that's it. I think it's totally fair to say that Klopp values his players, but fundamentally as people, whereas Jose Mourinho only sees his players as players. And I think therein lies the key difference between the individuals. I think maybe at one point in his life, Jose Mourinho may have seen his players as individuals and as people, and he may have had like a genuine heart. But I think along the line somewhere, he's become so disengaged and so jaded that he has just become really embittered, and he doesn't really value the players should be happy within their personal lives. He doesn't really value that balance. He just sees players as, automaton, is that right? Like machines that are just scheduled to perform, and if they can't do that for whatever reason, they are of no use to him and they are cast aside. And I think that must create a real environment of like a lack of self-worth. So even if you look at Luke Shaw, for example, yeah, he earns whatever amount of money per week, but the way that he's been made to feel by Jose Mourinho intermittently since he joined Man United, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy, no matter how much they earn. And yeah, I don't know, I just think if you look at the American tour, for example, I'll wrap this point up, Liverpool's tour was jovial. It was clearly an exercise designed to make sure the players engaged with the fans, and it was clear that the club maybe didn't want to be flying so much and so on, but they still take it seriously. The club take their responsibility to the fans in America seriously. But then by contrast, Jose Mourinho said about Man United's American tour, I wouldn't pay my own money to go and watch this team without all these players and so on and so forth.
We're just trying to get through it with the players that we have. We're just trying not to get embarrassed on the field. All that type of shite was coming out of Mourinho's mouth.
Well, exactly. It's just, I literally think he's just an absolute. Oh, I don't know. He's almost setting himself up for the eventual capitulation. It's just.
It's beautiful. It's fucking beautiful, Cash. Let him set himself up.
Well, he is. But it's what, does he even know he's doing it? It's so hard for me to even tell. I feel like it's. I just don't know if someone is that self-destructive on purpose, or if it's all like an exercise for attention, or what. But if I was like a clinical psychiatrist, Jose Mourinho would be my dream, because he's just an absolute riddle, like wrapped in an enigma. He's a weird guy, and I wouldn't want to play under him if I'm a footballer, at all.
No, nor would I. And Anthony Martial is a good example of somebody who clearly has an amazing future, clearly is uber talented, and clearly somebody like Jurgen Klopp or Pep Guardiola would wet themselves to have a talent like him to work with.
Well, that's it. I think it's clear that. I mean, for example, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they made this reference because I don't see all of Man United's games, but
Lucky
Martial
you.
was in the team in like January or whatever it was, scored like in 3 games in a row, was showing really really good form, and then as soon as Alexis Sanchez was signed, he was dropped straight away, and it just it just goes to show you that like if he had a manager that had genuine confidence in him, he'd be a completely different player. And as much as I never want to see Man United do well, and I never ever do, if you're to take Martial out of that club, I would wish him well because I think he's a very good player, and he's so far away now from that player that absolutely embarrassed Martin Skirtle when he first joined, and that was it the 2-1 where he absolutely just run rings around Skirtle, and it's one of those situations where you just think, Jose Mourinho is effectively stripping you of your footballing soul, and luckily you've said you want out, you want to leave, but he won't even make that easy for him. He won't even just let him go. Whereas Darmian wants to go, the right back, and he's like, well, that's fine. He'll go with our good wishes. And I just think, how is it one rule for one and another for another player? It's just bullying. I don't like it at all. It makes me uneasy.
You know what? Let's bring it back to the Reds. I'm getting depressed just even fucking
Sorry.
thinking about Jose. No, it's not your fault. I brought it up. I'm just getting absolutely. Yeah, it makes me depressed even talking about him. Jesus Christ, I can really feel my mood going down. Let's bring it back to the Reds. And look, there's 1 week left in the window before the game against West Ham then creeps up on us cash. What are you expecting for the start of the season? A couple of people asked me earlier on to name an 11. A Liverpool 11 for that game against West Ham. So I'd like you to give me your 11 for that game, please.
My 11, obviously I would start with Alisson in goal. I would go with a back four of Klein, Van Dijk, Matip if he's fit, but I don't know whether he will be, but Matip if he's fit, / Lovren, depending on whether Lovren is able to play, and then obviously Andy Robertson. I'd then play a midfield 3 of... I would play a midfield 3 of Keita, Henderson if he's ready, but he may not be, so an asterisk beside Henderson, but I would say Keita, Henderson, and James Milner. But if Henderson's not ready, I'd swap in Fabinho. But I would play James Milner in that first game because I think you're going to need someone who's a mainstay of that Reds midfield from last year to really help those boys bed in. And then obviously your front 3, I think, picks itself.
Do you think Firmino's going to be there? That's the interesting point for me. I think we'll go with Sturridge.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is an interesting one, isn't it? Obviously, because it's a home game, isn't it? We start off with, so you would say that you won't need 3 midfielders, particularly when Keita can also act defensively, and James Milner, I suppose, can act defensively, and you would argue. But then again, this West Ham team that's coming to Anfield is a completely different sort of kettle of fish than previous West Ham teams. Like, they've been signing a lot of players. They've got... I wouldn't say they're anywhere near as good as we are, but they're definitely better than they were last year. And they've got a better manager now in Pellegrini, so I would say Jurgen Klopp won't take it lightly. But you're right in the sense that I think he may well play Keita and Milner, or Keita and Henderson. Don't think Wijnaldum will play because Wijnaldum seems to be in and out with injury anyway at the moment. So, and I think Fabinho may well be drip sort of. He'd be maybe pardon me, so I can't even talk. He may well be drip fed first team football in the Premier League just to get him used to things, because it has been noted that he hasn't looked as immediately accomplished as Keita has. So, whereas I think they'll unleash Keita straight away and it'll be no bother.
How great was it to see him back in training, by the way? How great was it to see him back training?
Yeah, I mean, you sort of got the sense that it wasn't a serious injury, but that being said, you want to see a player like that in every single game that you can. He's just so good.
He's ridiculously good, isn't he? I mean, we're probably understating how damn good Naby Keita is. I mean, he's fucking good, Cash. He's really fucking good.
I think he's just a game changer, and I can't wait to see him going around, like marauding around that glistening Anfield turf. him on that grass, he is just going to look absolutely sensational. And I think it's it's important. I think psychologically, it's really important that we unleash that game changer straight away. Do you know what I mean? In the sense of we've got this amazing, amazing player, and we are ready to fucking show him to you right now. Like I think to start the new season, we can walk out puff chests with that fucking amazing spine that we now have. And I think that'll send a message. And there's an argument to say, me personally, I'd be looking to go another season unbeaten at Anfield with less draws than we had last year. It's a big ask, but we went unbeaten last year at Anfield with a worse team, if you like, and I think we could do it again this season. So yeah, my first 11 would be what I've stated, with a potential couple of changes based on whether players that you would expect to normally be in the first team are ready after the World Cup and so on.
I do want to have a little chat about that home record, but before I do so, I just want to say again, thank you to everyone who's watching the stream. I hope you're enjoying it. It's great to have Cash on. I'm really enjoying sitting back and listening to her viewpoints. But if you are watching and you haven't yet subscribed, we set ourselves a target on here tonight. And look, it looks like we're going to fall a little bit short, but we'll keep pushing to hit 2,500 subscribers by the time we finish tonight. I think from the guys in the chat, let me know, we're at about 2,480. So we're 20 subs off. If you're watching and you're enjoying it, please just take a moment, hit that subscribe button. It does help us grow the channel. It helps us get suggested. Give us that thumbs up. If you think we're shit, give us a thumbs down. By all means, this is a democracy. But if you're enjoying yourself, hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and help us get suggested, grow, and meet more Reds. Cash, looking ahead to this home record, you spoke about us going unbeaten last season, and that was a great achievement. I think we had 7 draws across the season or something like that. But this year, laying a marker down at the start of the season, if we can go out and destroy this new look West Ham team, really put our foot down and say, any team that comes to Anfield this year, you guys are in for the worst 90 minutes of your lives. Just don't even bother trying.
Well, that's it. I think if you look at it, we're in a position where we can do that because nobody beat us there last year in the league. We now have a better team and better depth. It's already known to have a brilliantly intimidating atmosphere. However, there is one thing I think we can improve upon, and it's if we get the lunchtime kickoffs. Obviously, Jurgen Klopp did an interview with the Anfield Wrap where he actually remarked upon that the Anfield atmosphere is incredible except for those kickoffs. So I think that's something that we could really look at as a fan base and say, can we create the same kind of hostile atmosphere for opposition teams at any time of the day? And then also, like you say, it lays down a marker. It lays down that it creates that idea that teams come to Anfield and basically play to not get hammered. They put out not even their best 11. They protect their best players and keep them back for games that they can actually win. You want to have that reputation where you're going where opposition teams are coming to the stadium thinking, right, okay, well, if we get a point here, that's an absolute bonus, but we're not getting anything else.
Absolutely.
I think that would be,
sorry, I just want to say a quick good night to Raptor and Wrigley, make a couple of people who are leaving the stream. Thank you guys so much as well for joining in tonight. Cash, getting back to this season, it's not going to be easy for the Reds to really mount this serious challenge to Manchester City, who, look, they are the clear favourites, let's call a spade. But what Jurgen Klopp has done here is managed to forge an environment where people want to challenge themselves and succeed. He's created competition for places amongst the squad. He's developed the players that are already here. He's brought through the young players, and he's certainly freshened up the squad enough to give us a squad that can compete. So we've no more excuses. Everything is here for us to mount a challenge.
Well, that is an issue, isn't it? The idea that we now are in a position where we can't really say we don't go toe-to-toe with the other clubs in terms of the finances. We can't say that we're lacking in any specific position, like chronically, like before, in terms of the keeper and the midfield and so on. But if we do believe, and we do, I know I do, but if we truly as a fan base believe that this is a project, this is the midpoint of Jurgen Klopp's presumed 7-year project. So if we're at the halfway point, then this is the time where you realistically can say, okay, well, there should be pressure because last year there was no pressure on us to win anything per se. Would have been ideal, but look how close we did come to winning things. Particularly, obviously, we came so close to winning the Champions League. Particularly, I think the key this season, personally, what I would like to see is us stay in the title race for a length of time. Last year it was over, from our perspective, in terms of the title from September. It was embarrassingly
Yeah, that
early,
was.
and
It's
yes,
not
obviously
great.
that's, it was, okay, City's start was unprecedented, and I don't think we'll see that again, if I'm honest. There's lots of chat that City have strengthened again, and they have, but they haven't strengthened in a way that beats the way we've strengthened. So, if anything, that gap has definitely narrowed between the two clubs, and we already know that we're their bogey team anyway. So, with all that in mind, I personally would really like to see a sustained challenge over the course of a season, because that is the one that we want the most.
It's the
But all
fucking
things
holy
being
grail.
said,
It is the holy grail.
it is, and I think, but all things being said, I do believe that Jurgen Klopp is putting together a squad that he genuinely believes is capable of fighting on more than one front. Because when you look at it, we could conceivably put out two almost separate teams for the league and cup competitions, domestic cup competitions. That's even if we have quite a few players, more leave on loan, which is possible. We're still in a position where I do believe he could put out two separate teams almost and be competitive, and that's the stage we've got to get to, because the reality is that the pressure is on, and it's a different consideration, and it's a different sort of quandary for Jurgen Klopp now. It's how do you deal with pressure that exists, as opposed to how do you cope with pressure that's been created by your own overachieving, and those are two separate and distinct types of problem, if you like, and be interesting to see what happens.
I have two more questions for you before we close up tonight's stream, and I let you go off and get some much deserved rest. Firstly, this season it seems like every time we play a Champions League game, we have a home game coming up afterwards. Do you think that will have much of an impact on our challenge for the league?
You would hope so. I think it's hard to say, how much of an advantage these kinds of factors play. They're all relative unknowns in terms of you can't quantify exactly how advantageous something like that is. But I don't know. I'm a believer in the fine margins in football being quite crucial. And if this is a fine margin, which I think you can argue it is, I think it'll work in our favor, and it's a really potentially beneficial thing.
And
but as I said,
oh,
it's
sorry,
going to be a
go on.
hard season regardless. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, insofar as these things can matter, I think this will matter.
And finally, Cash, I want to have a little word about the transfer window. We've seen that the Premier League clubs obviously are a little bit of a disadvantage because the window closes early for Premier League clubs. But what I want to know is, one, do you think it's a good idea? And two, do you think it puts them at a genuine disadvantage to other clubs? Or do you think that the Premier League is so wealthy and so powerful that they'll just get the business they want to get done early, and the other European clubs are almost going to be scrapping around for whatever's left?
It's hard to say, isn't it? Because I think, yes, the Premier League is incredibly wealthy, and clubs that are smaller in terms of the Premier League are still able to attract players that other leagues, bigger teams can't attract because of the money that we can pay and so on and so forth. But I still believe that, this decision to close the transfer window early, I just feel like it loses its efficacy because it's not, it's not applicable across the board. So it just it doesn't change things in terms of Europe. It doesn't change things in terms of anything except the small world of the Premier League, so to speak. So I do think that it does enable Premier League clubs to obviously get on with their seasons, but if European powerhouses want to come in and buy players, I think they'll just continue to do that, and it'll not really disturb them too much. Only time will tell whether it's a demonstration of how strong the Premier League is now, or whether it's just a demonstration of the fact that the Premier League passed this rule and didn't really consider how it would affect, the rest of the world, if that makes sense in terms of football. But only time will really tell that. But obviously, there's no doubt in the fact that the Premier League is a massive financial powerhouse now. I don't think anybody can deny that. So yeah.
I've thought about this from a few different angles, and for me, I think that the Premier League is strong enough that other clubs are now thinking, do you know what, let's wait and see what the Premier League clubs do, because if, say for instance, we lose Fekir as an example, if other clubs are thinking about going in for Nabil Fekir, they'd look at it now and go, well look, their window closes the first week of August, so if Liverpool don't get that deal over the line, then we could possibly go in and get him for a knockdown fee.
Well, yeah, I mean, I do feel like it's difficult, isn't it? Because with the Fekir deal specifically, has something happened in that respect? Has another club contacted Aulas and said, okay, well, if you stop talking about Liverpool in the press every day, when their window closes and you still got Fekir, we'll come in for him? You don't know what's been said behind the scenes. Because that, in terms of to my knowledge anyway, Aulas has been quiet over the last few days on Fekir, really. He hasn't said anything new. Has he?
No, the last I heard was his whole thing about if it doesn't happen by the end of July, then nothing's going to happen. And look, July is past, we're into the start of August now, so if you went with him, then, we wouldn't be signing him.
Well, yeah, exactly. If you went with him, you'd be... I don't know, I don't trust a word really that comes out of his mouth. I mean, he's a bit of a tit, to be fair. But you're right in the sense, and this is why I like about you, Craig. You're really good at you analyze sort of the real specific nitty gritty of it all. And what I do think is a concern is that other clubs in Europe are going to leverage the early closure of the transfer window to benefit themselves and their own deals, and to put themselves in the driving seat to complete deals for a lesser fee, because they know Premier League clubs can't come in and usurp their bids. That is a genuine concern. I think that's a real concern. Is it something that's potentially at play already? Because with the exception of who we've signed and maybe Riyad Mahrez, how many big huge names have come into the Premier League this summer?
Yeah, it's been a weird one, hasn't it? I mean, you've seen...
Maybe Jorginho. That's about it. And even that deal is kind of shrouded in controversy.
But you can say that about the Spanish League as well. I mean, the Spanish League are losing some of the stars at this moment in time. We've seen, obviously, Modric could be going to Juventus, or Inter, excuse me, if you believe that one. Cristiano Ronaldo has gone to Juventus. It does seem strange.
Yeah, it does sort of feel like it's a bit of a twilight zone. I don't know. It's a bit, like you say, there's a bit of an eerie kind of feel to the transfer window at the moment. I don't really. There's a lot of. It feels like the very top clubs. There's no real massive, sort of transfer scramble over a Galactico or a Star or whatever. But then, clubs in the Premier League like Fulham and Wolves and clubs that you wouldn't really think too much about are now spending silly money on players that they really have no right to even go for in terms of what you would expect. So
like Seri to Fulham, for fuck's sake,
exactly,
that's nuts.
Or Andre Schürrle's gone to Fulham, or they've got Rui Patricio's gone to Wolves, and João Moutinho and players like that. And it does sort of feel like the whole thing's kind of subverted and flipped on its head a bit, in the sense of the top clubs are a bit more cagey now about their dealings. The superstars aren't really going here, there and everywhere, particularly not into the Premier League. But yet, clubs that have no real, they don't have the big status, if you like, are now getting players like Jean-Michel Seri, or players like that you just think, well, how is that even happening? But I think there's a real sea change in terms of the way power is distributed within the Premier League. Don't get me wrong, the top teams are still always going to be the top teams. But you would say that there are teams coming into the Premier League now that are more than able to compete at the mid to top level. And, that we've never had that really.
Sorry to cut across you. I'm just reading a comment from our very own Connor here in the chat. And he said, I'm a little bit pissed and I've no idea what's been said in the stream, but subscribe and you're a fucking legend. So firstly, absolutely what Connor said, do hit that subscribe button. We set ourselves a target tonight. Go on, hit that button, make Connor's night. But apart from that, Cash, he might be half pissed, but he's taken the time to put in every fucking comma. He's made sure he's wrote every word correctly. Every abbreviation or everything is just done perfectly. It's not a piss text to me. Just looking at it here. If that was me now, that would be a lot more all over the place. Oh, he didn't use a capital I and I'm, so I'm giving him that one.
Look, he's a thorough boy. I mean, Connor. If anybody in the chat has met Connor or anybody is familiar with the designs that he does and the work that he does, he's meticulous and he's got great eye to detail. And I reckon even inebriated, that would be unchanged.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
He's great, isn't he?
He is. He's absolutely
like he would
brilliant.
never let standards slip.
I feel it's been a very strange few days for me, actually. I usually talk to Connor, interact with Connor numerous times during the day. But since he's been away this week on a bit of a holiday, I've said, just fucking leave him be, let the lad enjoy himself. And it's been very strange.
Do you feel a bit like codependent?
I do. I feel it's a bit weird, to be honest. Like I've been going back and forth with Charlie. Charlie has stepped up and been brilliant at making the thumbnails for the stream, but it does feel a bit weird because when you work with somebody so much, you can almost say less to them because they're going to know what you're thinking, and some things just come more naturally.
Oh, it is a very genuinely nice dynamic they have, father and son. I don't know if it's quite that, but like.
I'd say big brother, little brother will probably be a bit nicer. He has a father who's doing an amazing job raising a fantastic young man.
Yeah, no, he is genuinely like. I mean, as I said, if anybody in the chat isn't familiar with Connor, because obviously he doesn't appear on the pods and so on that much. But if anyone, has met him, and I can't say enough good things about him, and not just his talent and his ability, but just his personality and the way he carries himself. He's just a really, really good kid. And I say kid because he's fucking well younger than me.
You can't go 10 minutes without having a wank, though, according to people in the chat here.
I mean, is that true? I don't keep a close eye on his wanking schedule, if I'm honest. But everybody's got to have a release, and maybe after a long day of creating Liverpool-based posters and so on, he just needs to have a little tug just to remind himself of how good life is.
He dug a hole for himself one night. He was on a stream and he said he kept having to pop off for a few minutes every now and again. I don't know whatever he was doing, family stuff or letting the dog out. I don't know what he was doing, but he dug a hole for himself. And the type of subscribers that we have, Cash, are like us in that they're fucked up in a brilliant way, and they kind of weren't shy about letting them know what they were thinking he was up to.
I suppose if you're constantly nipping off did he offer an alternative explanation as to where he was or what was going on?
No, we didn't. And somebody else just said here, this was a brilliant comment actually. Ryan said, Connor is a robot spell check comes installed with the Conbot 2018 model.
It's so nice that we've got such a supportive, collaborative group of people.
It is brilliant. Do you know what? On that note, I'm gonna say goodnight because I've done a pod. I've been on here since about 8:15 tonight. I'm absolutely knackered.
You do you, and just you gotta. Yeah, I don't know how you do it, Craig. I really don't. Just well done. Just all the congratulations. I feel like if you wanted to go off and have a wank now, I don't think any of the listeners would.
I haven't got the energy.
You haven't got the energy. I think maybe your next sort of project should be trying to invent a contraption that does it for you. It's not your own hand and that isn't your wife. And then when you don't have the energy, you can just put that to work.
I feel like this stream has taken a strange twist right at the very end here.
It's not normally what I like to finish my day discussing, but a new week, new me, etc. and so on. I don't really know what the right words are.
Absolutely. Do you know what, guys? Look, I'm going to say thank you to Cash for coming on, and I'm so glad that you took the time to come on, particularly after what happened tonight. I mean, I felt so bad when you said you had a burst tire. That's a shitty one.
Yeah, well, to be fair, like I'm lucky in the sense that I learned how to change one a wee while ago, so I'm actually reasonably content because it feels quite satisfying to be like, okay, well, this thing happened, but I can solve it myself without any intervention. So that was quite nice.
There you go.
But yeah, I wouldn't recommend it, but it's always good to feel like an independent, strong woman.
I couldn't tell you what it feels like to be an independent, strong woman.
One day you're gonna feel it in your chest.
There you go. Do you know what? I do have an ample chest, even for a male, to be fair. But look, guys,
Ample bosom.
on that note, I'm going to say what I always say. I'm going to end this stream how I always do. If you've liked what you've seen, do hit that subscribe button. Maybe I haven't hit it on the stream, but maybe we can hit 2,500 subscribers before I go to bed. So that still gives us a little bit of time. If you're watching this on playback, take a moment, hit that subscribe button. To everybody that's contributed tonight in the chat with thumbs up, even you fuckers that gave us a thumbs down, thank you for your time. Thank you for coming on and watching the stream. Thank you to Cash, as I said, for joining. We'll talk to you all very soon. It'll be really soon, actually. It'll be tomorrow. Until then, up the fucking Reds.